Hello guys, welcome to Fictional Vortex. So in this video, we will see what if Naruto awakened the Omni-King Zeno powers Naruto x Vados x Marcarita, Dragon Ball Super. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1, Cosmic Convergence. Naruto jumped between massive tree branches, the familiar weight of his mission gear tight against his body. The war had been over for months now, but remnants of Kagaya's forces still lurked in hidden pockets across the nations. This latest intel suggested something big, energy readings unlike anything the Sensor Corps had encountered before. Seriously, Kakashi-sensei could have sent a whole team for this, he grumbled, though part of him enjoyed the solo run. At 20, the hero of Konoha had grown into his responsibilities, even if he still complained about them. His chakra flared as he pushed harder through the dense forest. Something felt off. The air crackled with static energy that made his hair stand on end. What the hell? The space ahead of him warped, reality folding inward like paper. The forest twisted, trees bending at impossible angles as a glowing tear opened in the air itself. Naruto skidded to a halt, kunai instantly in hand. That's definitely not a jutsu, he muttered, creating 3 shadow clones without seals. They spread out, flanking the phenomenon while he assessed the threat. The tear widened, pulsing with colors that shouldn't exist, colors beyond the spectrum his eyes should be able to perceive. Within the distortion, a small figure appeared. Floating through the rift came what looked like a child with blue skin, wearing royal purple garments. The being had an oversized round head and large, curious eyes that scanned the surroundings with detached interest. New universe. New universe. The childlike entity clapped its hands, voice somehow both innocent and ancient. Not in any records. Exciting. Naruto approached cautiously. Hey. Who are you and what are you doing in the land of fire? The blue-skinned being turned, noticing Naruto for the first time. Its eyes widened with delight. Yellow hair. Whiskers. Interesting design. It floated closer, seemingly unafraid. I am Zeno. The Omni-King. Omni-King? Naruto didn't lower his guard. Years of experience taught him that the most dangerous enemies often looked harmless. Never heard of you. What kind of jutsu did you use to get here? No jutsu. Opened way between universes. Zeno made a splitting motion with his hands. Felt strange energy. Came to see. Naruto felt Kurama stirring within him. Kid, I've never sensed anything like this before, the Ninetales growled. This isn't chakra. It's something, older. Deeper. The dimensional tear suddenly pulsed, expanding violently. 3 humanoid figures emerged, tall, gray-skinned beings with sharp features and glowing red eyes. Target acquired, the lead figure announced mechanically. Omni-King detected in unregistered reality. Executing protocol terminus. Zeno turned, his childlike expression shifting to mild annoyance. Hunters. Not fun. Get down. Naruto shouted, launching forward as the hunters released energy blasts toward Zeno. His clones converged, one tackling the small deity while the others engaged the newcomers. Naruto's hands flashed through seals, sending a massive wind technique cutting through the air. Wind style, Raisin Shuriken. The spinning chakra disc slammed into the lead hunter, but instead of cutting through, it seemed to distort around the being. The hunter flickered, its form glitching like a faulty transmission. Conventional energy attacks ineffective, it stated, raising a hand that morphed into a cannon. Dimensional isolation commencing. A pulse wave erupted, dispelling Naruto's clones instantly. The real Naruto was thrown backward, crashing through several trees before regaining his footing. These guys aren't playing around, he muttered, entering sage mode. With practiced ease. Nature energy flowed through him, enhancing his senses. Zeno floated upward, small hands raised. Stop fighting. I don't like it. The anomaly must be contained, the hunter responded. This universe has not been catalogued or approved. I approve it. Zeno's voice took on a dangerous edge. I like the yellow-haired one. The hunters paused, seemingly recalculating. Omni-King preference noted. However, protocol states, they never finished. One of the hunters suddenly fired at Zeno, a blast so fast even Naruto's enhanced reflexes barely tracked it. The attack wasn't meant to kill, it deployed some kind of energy net that wrapped around the small deity. Power dampening field engaged, the hunter announced. Omni-King temporarily contained. Preparing for extraction. Naruto didn't understand everything happening, but he knew a kidnapping when he saw one. He slammed his hands together. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. Hundreds of Narutos burst into existence, swarming the hunters from all angles. The original charged forward, a Rasengan forming in hand. Let him go. You're on my planet now. The hunters dispersed, moving with unnatural speed. One spoke into a device on its wrist. Resistance encountered. Local entity displays energy manipulation. Requesting reinforcements. The rift widened further, crackling with unstable energy as more hunters began emerging. Zeno struggled against the energy net, his usual carefree demeanor replaced with confusion. Not supposed to work on me. Something wrong with universe. Naruto fought his way to the captured deity, dodging energy blasts that disintegrated everything they touched. He slid under a hunter, slashing its legs with a chakra-enhanced kunai before leaping toward Zeno. Hang on, little guy, I'll get you out. As his hand touched the energy net, Naruto felt a jolt unlike anything he'd experienced. Worse than Sasuke's Chidori, more invasive than Kurama's chakra had once been. Every cell in his body lit up with awareness. Zeno's eyes met his. Dimensional interference. Can't use powers properly. They planned this. More hunters poured through, dozens now, surrounding them in a tightening circle. Target compromised. Enact contingency Omega. A hunter raised both arms, generating a spiraling vortex aimed directly at Zeno, and by extension, Naruto. The attack looked designed to erase, not just kill. Yellow hair. Zeno called out, voice urgent. Only choice. Take power. What? What power? Naruto grunted, trying to pull the net apart with pure strength. My power. Omni-King power. Can't let them have it. Zeno's small hands pressed against the inside of the net, touching Naruto's fingers. Hurry. Accept. Naruto didn't understand, but survival instincts kicked in. Fine. Do it. The moment he agreed, the world went white. Energy beyond comprehension surged from the small deity into Naruto's body. It wasn't like chakra, which flowed through existing pathways. This power created new ones, rewriting his very existence on a fundamental level. He screamed, not from pain, but from suddenly perceiving reality in ways the human mind wasn't designed to process. He saw everything, every particle, every possibility, every timeline branching out infinitely. The hunters faltered. Energy transfer detected. Abort mission. Abort. Too late. The power transfer completed in an instant that paradoxically felt like eternity. Naruto stood, Zeno's energy net now empty, the small deity fading like mist. Good luck, yellow hair, Zeno's voice echoed, more in Naruto's mind than in physical space. Universe in your hands now. Have fun. The hunters retreated toward the rift, but Naruto raised his hand instinctively. Something told him they couldn't be allowed to report back. He didn't consciously form a jutsu, he simply wished them gone. They vanished. Not destroyed, not killed, simply erased as if they'd never existed. Naruto stared at his hands in shock. What the hell just happened? The dimensional tear remained, pulsing unstably. Within it, new figures appeared, different from the hunters. A tall, slim woman with pale blue skin and white hair styled upward in a ponytail emerged. She carried a staff and wore elegant robes that spoke of authority. "Oh my," she said, voice melodious yet concerned. "This is unexpected." Naruto dropped into a fighting stance. "Who are you?" "Another hunter?" "Quite the contrary," she replied calmly. "I am Vados, angel attendant to Lord Kampa, god of destruction of Universe 6. Her eyes assessed him with ancient intelligence. "And you appear to have somehow acquired the powers of Lord Zeno, the Omni-King." "Zeno transferred his power to me before disappearing," Naruto explained cautiously. "Something about hunters and protocols." "Dimensional hunters," Vados clarified, floating gracefully toward him. "Entities that police reality breaches. They've been growing bolder lately, even approaching Lord Zeno's domain." She circled Naruto, studying him. "But for the Omni-King to transfer his powers to a mortal, unprecedented." The rift pulsed violently, sending shockwaves across the forest. Trees uprooted, the ground cracked. "The dimensional tear is unstable," Vados noted. "Without Lord Zeno to maintain it, it could collapse catastrophically, taking half your world with it." Naruto felt panic rising. "How do I stop it?" "With your new powers, of course." Vados gestured toward the rift. "Simply will it closed." "I don't know how." "Feel the edges of reality, just as you would sense chakra," Vados instructed. "The power is intuitive, it responds to intention more than technique." Naruto took a deep breath, reaching out with senses he didn't fully understand yet. He felt the wrongness of the tear, how it violated natural law. Concentrating, he imagined the edges pulling together, healing the wound in reality. The rift shuddered, contracting slightly before expanding again explosively. A nearby mountain disintegrated as space-time warped around it. "Damn it!" Naruto shouted. "It's not working." "You're trying too hard," Vados said, unexpectedly placing her hand on his shoulder. "Omni-King power isn't like chakra. Don't push, simply decide." Naruto nodded, centering himself. Instead of forcing his will onto reality, he simply accepted that the rift would close. In his mind, it was already done. The tears sealed instantly, reality snapping back into place with such force that the resulting shockwave flattened the remaining forest for miles. Only Naruto and Vados remained standing, protected by an unconscious barrier Naruto had created around them. "Well done," Vados said, nodding appreciatively. "For your first conscious use of Omni power, that was rather impressive." Naruto stared at where the rift had been. "What happens now? Is Zeno gone forever?" "I suspect so," Vados replied. The power transfer appeared complete. "There has only ever been one Omni-King at a time, the power cannot be split or shared." She tilted her head, studying him. "You are, for all intents and purposes, the new Omni-King." "I don't want to be any king." Naruto protested. "I'm going to be Hokage someday. That's my dream." "Your previous aspirations may need adjustment," Vados said. "The power you now hold transcends universal boundaries. You could erase galaxies with a thought." As if responding to her words, Naruto felt a surge of awareness. Suddenly he could perceive not just his immediate surroundings, but the entire planet. Further still, the solar system, the galaxy, and beyond. Countless universes existed parallel to his own, each with its own history and development. "This is too much," he whispered, overwhelmed. "I can feel everything." "And that's merely a fraction of your awareness," Vados noted. "You haven't even begun to tap into the creative aspects." Naruto's legs gave out, and he sat heavily on the ground. "I can't handle this." "How did that little guy manage it?" "Lord Zeno was born with these abilities. You're experiencing everything at once without the millennia of adjustment." Vados knelt beside him, her usual aloof demeanor softening slightly. Perhaps I can help. I've guided a god of destruction for eons, I can at least show you basics. Naruto looked up at her. Why would you help me? Self-preservation, partly, she admitted with surprising candor. An untrained Omni-King could accidentally erase multiple universes during a nightmare. But also. She paused, looking genuinely curious. You're fascinating. A mortal with Omni-King powers. I've existed for millions of years and never seen anything like this. Before Naruto could respond, he felt a strange pull from within, his awareness suddenly contracting and expanding simultaneously. The forest around them vanished, replaced by a void filled with swirling colors. What's happening? He gasped. You're creating a pocket dimension, Vados observed, seemingly unfazed by their sudden transportation. Your subconscious is attempting to find space to process your new awareness. The void solidified, forming a strange hybrid of environments. Parts looked like Konoha, others like alien landscapes Naruto had never seen but somehow knew. Floating islands connected by rainbow bridges. Waterfalls flowing upward. Forests of crystalline trees. I made this? He asked, stunned. Indeed. Your first creation. Vados tapped her staff on the ground, which rippled like water despite appearing solid. Impressive detail for a beginner. Naruto took a tentative step, watching the ground respond to his presence. Plants sprouted where he walked, blooming instantly into flowers unlike any on Earth. How do we get back? My friends will worry. Time flows differently in pocket dimensions unless you specify otherwise, Vados explained. We could spend years here, and only seconds would pass in your world. Years? Naruto's eyes widened. I can't stay here that long. I have responsibilities. And now you have cosmic ones as well, Vados countered. The multiverse will soon realize Lord Zeno is gone and his power resides in you. Gods of destruction, Kais, angels, all will seek you out, either to test your worth or eliminate what they perceive as a threat. Naruto crossed his arms. Let them try. I've faced gods before. Not like these, Vados said, her tone serious. Before we return, you should at least master basic control. Consider this pocket dimension your training ground. Naruto wanted to argue, but the logic was sound. He couldn't risk accidentally erasing his friends if his powers activated during sleep or in a moment of anger. Fine. Quick training session. What's first? Vados smiled, and for the first time, Naruto noticed how beautiful she was, not in a human way, but with an ethereal quality that transcended conventional attractiveness. First, boundaries. Even Omni-Kings have rules they follow, not because they must, but because reality functions better with certain constants. She waved her staff, creating a visual display of multiversal laws that floated in the air between them. Don't erase too much at once, it creates dimensional instability. Don't create sentient beings without purpose, they tend to develop existential issues. Don't alter time in established universes, the paradoxes become administrative nightmares. Naruto tried to focus, but the rules seemed endless. This is worse than academy lectures. Think of them more as guidelines than actual rules, Vados said with a slight smirk. Now, for practical application. Try creating something simple. Like what? Something familiar. A weapon, perhaps. Naruto thought of his kunai. He reached out, expecting to form hand signs, but instead felt the power respond directly to his imagination. A kunai appeared, floating before him, but unlike any he'd used before. It glowed with inner light, its edges sharp enough to cut reality itself. Good, Vados nodded. Now try something more complex. A living being, perhaps. Naruto concentrated, thinking of a fox, a small tribute to Kurama. The air shimmered, particles coalescing into the form of a fox. But instead of orange fur, this fox had a coat that shifted through all colors of the spectrum. Its eyes contained galaxies, and each footprint it left burned with cosmic fire. That's not exactly what I was going for, Naruto admitted. Your power responds to intent but also draws on your subconscious, Vados explained, watching the fox dart around, leaving trails of stardust. The being you've created exists beyond conventional physics. Fascinating. The fox approached Naruto, rubbing against his leg. Unlike normal foxes, this one passed partially through him, leaving a tingling sensation like his limb had fallen asleep. Can I make it more normal? Why would you? Vados asked, genuinely curious. Conventional creatures exist already. Why not explore what only you can create? Naruto hadn't considered that perspective. He looked at his creation with new appreciation, reaching down to pet it. The fox leaned into his touch, its fur feeling like silk woven from lightning. I think I'll call him Cosmic, Naruto decided with a grin. My first creation. Vados observed their interaction with interest. You're adjusting to godhood rather quickly for a mortal. I've had practice adapting to new powers, Naruto replied, thinking of all the forms he'd mastered over the years. Though this is definitely weirder than Sage Mode or Kurama's chakra. Kurama? Vados inquired. The nine-tailed fox sealed inside me, Naruto explained, then realized Kurama had been suspiciously quiet. Actually, I should check on him. Naruto closed his eyes, focusing inward to his mindscape where Kurama typically resided. When he opened them, he found himself in a vastly expanded space. The usual watery chamber had transformed into an endless landscape where the nine-tails lounged, looking both irritated and impressed. Took you long enough to check in, Kurama growled. What the hell did you do this time, kid? Your chakra tastes like stardust and infinity. Long story, Naruto said, approaching his partner. I kind of accidentally became the god of everything. Kurama snorted. Of course you did. Only you could stumble into omnipotence on a routine mission. Are you okay? You feel different. Your transformation is affecting me, Kurama admitted. I'm more than I was. Less bound by limitations. The fox stretched, his form briefly flickering with the same cosmic energy as Naruto's created fox. Not complaining, mind you. Good, because I have no idea how to fix it, Naruto laughed. I've got an angel teacher outside trying to show me the basics. Angel? Kurama's eyes narrowed. Be careful, Naruto. Entities that exist beyond the natural order rarely have straightforward motives. Noted, Naruto agreed. But right now, she's all I've got for guidance. Returning to the pocket. Dimension, Naruto found Vados examining a structure that had appeared while he was communicating with Kurama, a massive tree reminiscent of the god tree, but with branches that phased between dimensions. Your subconscious is quite active, she commented. This appeared moments after you went into your meditative state. Sorry about that, Naruto said, eyeing the tree warily. I've got history with giant trees. I gathered as much from its structure, Vados replied. Your mind is integrating your past with your new powers. It's actually a good sign, it means you're adapting rather than being overwhelmed. Naruto approached the tree cautiously. So what's next in Omni-King training? Energy blasts? Reality warping? Actually, Vados said, glancing toward a specific point in space, I believe we're about to have company. The air shimmered, and a new rift opened, this one neat and controlled, unlike the chaotic tear from earlier. Through it stepped another woman, similar to Vados in appearance but with longer, clear white hair and a staff topped with a different symbol. Her eyes held the same ancient wisdom, but with a more playful glint. Vados, the newcomer greeted. I see you found our missing Omni-King. The Grand Priest is in quite a state. Marcarita, Vados returned evenly. I was merely providing basic guidance to prevent multiversal catastrophe. How thoughtful of you, Marcarita replied with a smirk before turning to Naruto. And you must be the mortal who somehow acquired Lord Zeno's power. You've caused quite the commotion across the universes. Naruto straightened, instinctively on guard. Naruto Uzumaki. And I didn't ask for these powers, I was just trying to help. Noble intentions, Marcarita noted, floating closer to inspect him. Though the road to destruction is often paved with those. Marcarita serves as angel attendant to Belmod, god of destruction of Universe 11, Vados explained to Naruto. Like me, she answers to the Grand Priest. Who's apparently freaking out right now, Naruto concluded. Is he going to be a problem? The two angels exchanged glances that spoke volumes. The Grand Priest oversees cosmic balance, Marcarita said carefully. A mortal suddenly possessing Omni-King powers represents a significant deviation. What she means, Vados clarified, is that you should prepare for a test of worthiness, at minimum. Naruto sighed. Always another test. Fine. What does this one involve? That depends entirely on the Grand Priest's assessment, Marcarita said, circling Naruto with obvious curiosity. Though I must say, you've created quite an impressive pocket dimension for a novice. There's potential here, Vados. I agree, Vados nodded. His adaptability is remarkable for a mortal. Stop talking about me like I'm not here, Naruto interjected. If this Grand Priest wants to test me, bring him on. But I'm not giving up these powers until I know they're going to someone who won't misuse them. Both angels raised their eyebrows at his boldness. You speak as though you have a choice in the matter, Marcarita noted, though her tone held more amusement than threat. There's always a choice, Naruto countered. Zeno chose me for a reason. Perhaps, Vados agreed. Or perhaps you were simply convenient. Either way, Marcarita interjected, we should return to standard spacetime. This pocket dimension, while impressive, is drawing attention across the multiverse. Every deity with sensitivity to dimensional fluctuations can feel the new Omni-King's energy signature. Naruto nodded, focusing on the concept of returning to where they started. The pocket dimension wavered, then collapsed gently around them, depositing all three back in the cleared forest area. Only moments had passed in the real world, just as Vados had promised. Much better, Marcarita approved. Now, I suggest we relocate to neutral territory before, she was interrupted by two new arrivals, cat-like humanoids with purple and yellow skin respectively, both wearing Egyptian-styled attire that marked them as important. They radiated power that made the air itself heavy with pressure. Too late, Vados sighed. Lord Beerus, Lord Kampa, what an unexpected pleasure. Vados, the purple one, apparently Beerus, growled. Explain why we're sensing Omni-King energy from this backwater planet. Kampa, the rounder yellow one, pointed accusingly at Naruto. And why is it coming from that scrawny human? Naruto bristled. Who are you calling scrawny, Cat Balloon? The temperature dropped several degrees as both deities turned their full attention to him. Did he just? Beerus began. Insult a god of destruction? Kampa finished, his body beginning to glow with purple energy. Gentlemen, Vados intervened smoothly. May I present Naruto Uzumaki, the new vessel of Omni-King power. Lord Zeno transferred his abilities to him during an incursion by dimensional hunters. This information stopped the gods in their tracks. Impossible, Beerus declared. The Omni-King's power cannot be transferred. Apparently, it can, Marcarita countered. We witnessed the aftermath ourselves. The power signature is unmistakable. Kampa approached Naruto, sniffing the air around him. He smells mortal. Just a human with fancy energy. Without warning, Kampa flicked a finger toward a nearby mountain range. A beam of purple energy shot forth, completely erasing the mountains from existence. Not destroying, erasing, as if they'd never been. Let's see you do that, human, he challenged. Naruto stared at the now empty horizon, then at his own hand. He didn't want to play power games, but he also couldn't appear weak before these self-proclaimed gods. He pointed at the empty space where the mountains had been. Rather than erasing, he created, a new mountain range erupted from the ground, larger and more majestic than the original. But unlike natural formations, these mountains floated several feet above the ground, their peaks crowned with impossible waterfalls that flowed upward into cloud formations that spelled out, "Believe it," in massive letters. Beerus's eyes widened. Creation on that scale without effort. And with artistic flourish, Marcarita added with a smirk. Points for style. Kampa huffed. Lucky accident. Let's see how he handles this. The rotund deity launched himself at Naruto, moving faster than most shinobi could track. But to Naruto's enhanced perception, Kampa seemed to be moving through molasses. Without conscious thought, Naruto simply stepped aside, leaving an afterimage that Kampa passed through harmlessly. Too slow, Naruto taunted, feeling unusually confident. Something about these gods triggered his competitive nature. Want to try again? Beerus observed with growing interest. His body is adapting to the power. Fascinating. Kampa growled, purple energy gathering around his paws. No mortal makes a fool of me. He unleashed a barrage of destruction energy, each blast capable of erasing planets. Naruto didn't dodge this time. Instead, he raised his hand, and the energy simply stopped, suspended in midair like purple fireflies. This destruction energy feels incomplete, Naruto observed, examining the floating orbs with genuine curiosity. Like it's missing something. Impossible. Kampa sputtered. My destruction energy is perfect. Naruto touched one of the suspended energy balls, and it transformed, the purple energy swirling with golden light before reshaping into a small, blooming flower that emitted both destructive and creative energy in perfect balance. There, Naruto said, pleased with the modification. Balance. Vados approached, examining the transformed energy with undisguised fascination. He's not just containing your power, Lord Kampa, he's improving it. Adding creative force to destruction. Unacceptable. Kampa roared, his pride wounded. I'll erase this entire planet. You will do no such thing, came a new voice, calm, measured, but carrying absolute authority. Everyone turned to see a new arrival, a short, blue-skinned man with white hair styled upward and formal. Attire that spoke of the highest authority. He floated several inches off the ground, hands clasped behind his back. Grand Priest, both angels said in unison, bowing their heads slightly. Lord Kampa, Lord Beerus, the Grand Priest acknowledged with a nod. I'll handle this situation. You may return to your duties. But, Kampa began to protest. That wasn't a suggestion, the Grand Priest clarified, his pleasant smile never wavering. Both gods grumbled but complied, vanishing in flashes of light that bent space around them. The Grand Priest turned his attention to Naruto. So you're the mortal who now carries Lord Zeno's power. Most unexpected. Naruto stood his ground, meeting the ancient being's gaze. Naruto Uzumaki. And I didn't ask for this power, but I'm not giving it up until I know it won't be misused. The Grand Priest's eyebrows rose slightly. Interesting. You speak as though you have a choice in the matter. I keep hearing that, Naruto replied. But where I come from, we make our own choices. Indeed. The Grand Priest floated closer, examining Naruto with eyes that saw far more than physical appearance. The power has integrated remarkably well with your unique energy system, chakra, I believe it's called. Fascinating adaptation. Will you be taking the power from him? Vados inquired, her tone carefully neutral. That remains to be seen, the Grand Priest replied. First, I need to understand how this happened. The Omni-King's power cannot be transferred, it's a fundamental law of the multiverse. The hunters had some kind of dampening field, Naruto explained. Zeno said he couldn't use his powers properly because of dimensional interference. Right before he transferred everything to me. The Grand Priest's expression darkened slightly. Dimensional hunters with technology capable of affecting the Omni-King, troubling. Very troubling indeed. He seemed lost in thought momentarily before refocusing. The transfer may have been more complex than simple power relocation. Perhaps. He extended his hand toward Naruto's forehead. May I? Naruto hesitated, but nodded. Just don't try anything funny. Wouldn't dream of it, the Grand Priest replied with a slight smile, touching Naruto's forehead. The contact created an immediate connection. Naruto felt the Grand Priest's consciousness, ancient beyond comprehension, vast, yet precisely ordered. Knowledge flowed between them, the Grand Priest extracting information about the transfer while Naruto inadvertently received flashes of cosmic history, the creation of universes, the hierarchy of gods, the true purpose of the Omni-King. When the Grand Priest withdrew his hand, his expression had changed to one of genuine surprise. Well, he said after a moment of silence. This is unprecedented. What is it? Marcarita asked, unable to contain her curiosity. Lord Zeno didn't simply transfer his power, the Grand Priest explained. He transferred his essence, his position, his cosmic authority. This young man is, in every meaningful way, the new Omni-King. The announcement hung in the air, its implications rippling through reality itself. Birds stopped singing, the wind ceased to blow, as if nature itself held its breath. That's impossible, Vados stated, for once showing genuine shock. The position of Omni-King is singular, it cannot be passed to another being. And yet, it has been, the Grand Priest replied. The multiverse itself recognizes him. The power has bonded completely with his life force. Naruto felt dizzy with the implications. So I can't give it back. There is no back to give it to, the Grand Priest explained. Lord Zeno has ceased to exist as a discrete entity. His final act was to choose a successor, you. Why me? There must have been better options. The Grand Priest's gaze was penetrating. In scanning your memories, I observed a remarkable quality, an unbreakable will to protect others, even at great personal cost. Perhaps Lord Zeno recognized this. Naruto thought back to Zeno's childlike curiosity and apparent delight upon seeing him. Had the deity somehow sensed his character in those brief moments? So what happens now, he asked. I've got a village to protect, friends who depend on me. I can't just abandon my world to go play God somewhere. The Omni-King typically resides in the palace beyond time, the Grand Priest said. But these are unprecedented circumstances. Perhaps, accommodations can be made. Vados and Marcarita exchanged surprised glances. Father, Vados said cautiously. Are you suggesting we adapt the cosmic hierarchy to a mortal's preferences? Father? Naruto looked between them in surprise. The Grand Priest is progenitor to all angel attendants, Marcarita explained briefly before returning her attention to her father. This is most irregular. These are irregular times, the Grand Priest replied. The multiverse is changing. Perhaps this development is not merely chance, but necessity. He turned back to Naruto. You will require training, of course. The power you hold could accidentally destroy multiple universes if mishandled. I figured as much, Naruto nodded. So what's the plan? I'm not leaving my world permanently. The Grand Priest considered. A compromise, then. Vados and Marcarita will serve as your instructors and attendants, teaching you to master your abilities. In return, you will fulfill essential Omni-King duties as needed. Both of us? Marcarita questioned, surprised. The task is too important for a single attendant, the Grand Priest explained. Besides, your different perspectives will provide more comprehensive training. Naruto looked between the two angels. Vados carried herself with elegant composure, while Marcarita exuded a more playful confidence. Both possessed power and knowledge far beyond anything he'd encountered. Fine by me, he agreed. But they need to understand, my friends come first. My village comes first. A curious priority for an Omni-King, the Grand Priest noted with a slight smile. But acceptable for now. Vados, Marcarita, you will relocate to this world temporarily. Arrange for your respective gods of destruction to function independently during this transition. Both angels bowed slightly. Yes, Father. The Grand Priest turned back to Naruto. I must inform the other deities of this development and ensure cosmic protocols are updated. We will speak again soon. With that, he vanished, not in a flash or swirl of energy, but simply ceasing to exist in one place and presumably existing elsewhere. Well, Marcarita said after a moment of silence. This should be interesting. Vados approached Naruto. We should establish suitable accommodations. Your current dwelling is unlikely to accommodate divine training. How do you know about my apartment? Naruto asked suspiciously. Angels have ways of knowing things, she replied with a mysterious smile. Your studio apartment with the plants on the windowsill and expired milk in the refrigerator would not suffice. Hey! I was going to throw that milk out. Marcarita laughed, the sound like crystal bells. Perhaps our first lesson should be creating a proper divine residence. Something that exists partially in this dimension and partially in the void between universes. Actually, Naruto said thoughtfully, I might have an idea about that. He focused, remembering the pocket dimension he'd accidentally created earlier. But this time, he imagined it anchored to a specific location, a clearing in the forest outside Konoha, accessible through a doorway that only he and those he permitted could see. Reality rippled, and a traditional-looking Konoha building appeared in the clearing, modest from the outside, but anyone stepping through its doors would find themselves in a vast space that defied the external dimensions, a perfect blend of familiar Konoha architecture and cosmic wonder. Impressive spatial manipulation, Vados noted approvingly. You learn quickly. I've always been a fast learner when properly motivated, Naruto replied with a grin. We should inform your leaders of the situation, Marcarita suggested. Divine training can be disruptive if local authorities aren't properly prepared. Naruto winced, imagining Kakashi's face when he tried to explain that he'd accidentally become god of everything. Yeah, that conversation's going to be fun. I'm sure they'll be quite understanding, Vados said dryly. You clearly don't know Konoha's elders, Naruto muttered. As they walked toward the village, Naruto felt the weight of his new reality settling in. He'd faced incredible challenges before, mastering Sage Mode, befriending Kurama, fighting Kaguya, but this was different. This wasn't just about power or battle, it was about becoming something beyond human while trying to remain himself. He glanced at his two new angelic companions. Vados walked with perfect posture, her expression serene but observant. Marcarita moved with a more casual grace, occasionally spinning her staff like a baton. So, he began, breaking the silence, what's the first actual lesson in Omni-King school? Perception, Vados answered immediately. Control, Marcarita countered simultaneously. They looked at each other, a silent communication passing between them. Perhaps both, Vados conceded. You must learn to manage your expanded awareness while simultaneously controlling your output. Like trying to drink from a fire hose without drowning, while also not accidentally setting the hose to universe-destroying pressure, Marcarita added with a smile. Great analogy, Naruto said sarcastically. Really reassuring. As they approached the village gates, Naruto saw Izumo and Kotetsu on guard duty. The eternal Chunin gatekeepers looked up, their eyes widening at the sight of Naruto accompanied by two otherworldly women. Naruto? Izumo called out. Everything okay? We felt some kind of earthquake from the forest. Just a training accident, Naruto replied casually. Is Kakashi-sensei in the Hokage office? I need to see him urgently. Yeah, Kotetsu answered, his eyes never leaving Vados and Marcarita. Who are your friends? Diplomatic representatives, Naruto improvised. From very, very far away. Indeed, Vados agreed smoothly. We've come to establish relations with your world. Very intimate relations, Marcarita added with a playful smirk that made Kotetsu blush. Naruto shot her a look. Don't make this weirder than it already is. Too late for that, Marcarita replied cheerfully. They passed through the gates, villagers stopping to stare at the strange procession. Naruto realized he was unconsciously floating several inches off the ground and quickly corrected himself. Walking is so inefficient, Marcarita complained. Why don't we just teleport to your leader? Because normal humans don't teleport, Naruto explained patiently. And I'm trying not to freak everyone out more than necessary. A considerate approach, Vados noted. Though your energy signature has already alerted every sensitive individual within 1,000 miles. I sense several powerful beings converging on this location. Right on cue, Sasuke appeared on a nearby rooftop, hand on his sword. His mismatched eyes narrowed as he assessed the angels. Naruto, he called down. What have you done this time? Why does everyone assume I did something? Naruto protested. Experience, Sasuke replied flatly, jumping down to join them. Your chakra feels wrong. And who are they? It's complicated, Naruto sighed. Short version, I accidentally became god of everything, and these are my angel teachers. Sasuke stared at him for a long moment. Only you, Naruto. He turned to the angels. Are you threats? Only if we choose to be, Marcarita replied with a sweet smile that somehow made her words more menacing. We are here to ensure your friend doesn't accidentally erase existence, Vados clarified more diplomatically. His power is still unstable. Sasuke's Rinnegan eye focused on Naruto, seeing beyond normal vision. That's not chakra anymore, is it? Not even Six Paths chakra. It's something older, Naruto confirmed. More fundamental. The building blocks of reality itself, Vados added. Creation, destruction, and everything between. Sasuke nodded once. Hokage's office. Now. I'll gather the others. He disappeared in a blur of movement, leaving Naruto alone with the angels again. Your friend seems intense, Marcarita observed. You have no idea, Naruto chuckled. He tried to kill me a few times. And you're still friends? Vados asked, genuinely curious. Naruto shrugged. It's complicated. Mortals are so fascinating, Marcarita said, twirling her staff. Holding grudges for what, decades? Millennia? And you forgive attempted murder after a few years. Life's too short for permanent grudges, Naruto replied. Besides, he had his reasons. Bad ones, but still. They continued toward the Hokage Tower, Naruto becoming increasingly aware of subtle changes in his perception. He could feel every person in the village, not just their presence, but their emotions, their life force, their very atoms. It was overwhelming. Focus on my voice, Vados instructed, noticing his distress. Filter your awareness. Picture a dial that you can turn down. Naruto tried the technique, imagining a control panel where he could adjust his perception. Gradually, the flood of information subsided to a manageable level. Better, he sighed. This is going to take some getting used to. You're doing remarkably well, Vados assured him. Most beings would be catatonic after receiving such power without preparation. Your unique life experiences likely prepared you, Marcarita suggested. From what I glimpsed in your mind earlier, you've already adapted to several power increases throughout your life. Yeah, but those were upgrades, not total rewrites of what I am, Naruto replied. They reached the Hokage Tower, where ANBU guards tensed at their approach. Naruto recognized their chakra signatures despite their masks. Relax guys, they're with me, he assured them. The ANBU didn't stand down completely but allowed them to pass. As they climbed the stairs, Naruto sensed familiar presences gathering in the Hokage's office. Your friends have assembled quickly, Vados noted. They're good like that, Naruto replied with pride. Always there when it counts. They reached Kakashi's office door, and Naruto took a deep breath before knocking. Enter, came the familiar voice of his former sensei. Naruto pushed open the door to find Kakashi behind his desk, with Sasuke, Sakura, Shikamaru, and Sai already present. Vados and Marcarita. They're angels from another universe. And I, kinda became the god of everything. Silence fell over the room as everyone processed this information. Troublesome, Shikamaru finally muttered, breaking the tension. Could you elaborate? Kakashi requested, his tone carefully neutral. Perhaps starting from the beginning. Naruto recounted the day's events, the dimensional rift, meeting Zeno, the attack by dimensional hunters, and the power transfer that changed everything. So this Omni-King passed his powers to you before disappearing, Kakashi summarized when Naruto finished. And now these angels are here to train you. Correct, Vados confirmed. Without proper training, his power could destabilize entire universes. Universes, plural, Sakura repeated weakly. Because that's apparently a thing now. Indeed, Marcarita nodded cheerfully. 12 main universes in our multiverse alone, plus countless auxiliary dimensions and timelines. And Naruto is now in charge of all of them? Sai asked, his usual emotionless expression showing rare concern. More or less, Vados replied. Though the day-to-day management is handled by Kais, gods of destruction, and other cosmic entities. The Omni-King serves as ultimate authority and arbiter. So what does this mean for Konoha? Kakashi asked directly. For our world. Naruto stepped forward. Nothing changes with my loyalty, Kakashi-sensei. I'm still a Konoha shinobi first. But you have new responsibilities now, Vados reminded him gently. Duties that transcend a single world. I can handle both, Naruto insisted. I've created a special place outside the village for training. I won't let my new position interfere with protecting everyone here. Sakura approached him, medical chakra glowing around her hands. May I? I want to see what's happened to your chakra network. Naruto nodded, and she placed her hands near him, not touching, as if hesitant to make direct contact. Her eyes widened. Your chakra pathways have completely transformed, she whispered. They're still there, but they're carrying something else. Something I can't even begin to understand. Divine energy, Marcarita explained. The fundamental force that shapes and sustains reality itself. Can it be removed? Sasuke asked bluntly. Not without destroying him, Vados replied. The power has integrated completely with his life force. Then we adapt, Kakashi decided. Naruto, you'll need to master this new power quickly. We can't risk incidents within the village. Already on it, Naruto assured him. That's why Vados and Marcarita are here. And how long will this training take? Shikamaru inquired, always thinking ahead. The angels exchanged glances. For basic control. Perhaps a few weeks, Vados estimated. For true mastery. Centuries, at minimum, Marcarita added. Centuries? Sakura exclaimed. But humans don't live that long. He's not exactly human anymore, Sasuke pointed out quietly. Is he? The question hung in the air, uncomfortable and impossible to dismiss. Naruto wanted to protest, to insist he was still the same, but the truth was more complicated. I'm still me, he said finally. Whatever else has changed, that hasn't. Kakashi studied him for a long moment before nodding. Then that's what matters most. The rest we'll figure out as we go. He turned to the angels. You're welcome in Konoha as long as you're helping Naruto. But I expect transparency about this training and any potential risks. Of course, Lord Hokage, Vados replied with perfect diplomatic courtesy. We understand the importance of discretion and safety. Great. Marcarita clapped her hands together. Now that the boring part is settled, when do we start the actual training? I'm particularly interested in seeing how his creative powers manifest in combat scenarios. Combat? Sakura questioned worriedly. You're planning to fight him? Nothing builds control like practical application, Marcarita explained with a smile that didn't quite reassure anyone. Perhaps we should begin with meditation and theoretical understanding, Vados suggested more sensibly. As they discussed training options, Naruto felt a strange sensation, a pulling at his awareness, as if something was reaching for his attention across vast distances. He turned toward the window, suddenly alert. What is it? Sasuke asked, noticing the change immediately. Someone's coming, Naruto said. Someone powerful. The angels tensed, their staffs glowing in response to the approaching energy. Already? Vados murmured. That was faster than expected. Who's coming? Kakashi demanded, rising from his desk. Gods of destruction, Marcarita replied. Several of them, by the feel of it. Seems the news has spread quickly. Naruto moved to the window, looking out over the village he'd sworn to protect. In the distance, the sky was beginning to warp, reality bending as multiple powerful entities approached simultaneously. Get the civilians to the shelters, he ordered, his voice carrying unexpected authority. Now. Kakashi nodded to Sai, who disappeared to relay the order. What do they want? Sakura asked. To test the new Omni-King, Vados explained. It's traditional when power changes hands. Traditional how? Shikamaru pressed. Combat, Marcarita answered. They'll want to see his power firsthand. Naruto's eyes hardened. They're not fighting in my village. He raised his hand, and reality shifted around them. The office and everyone in it transported instantly to his newly created dimensional space outside the village, the building that seemed normal from outside but contained cosmic vastness within. There, he said, surprising himself with how easily he'd moved them all. If they want a fight, we'll keep it away from innocent people. Vados looked impressed. Instantaneous transportation of multiple beings with perfect precision. You're learning quickly. I always did better with practical tests than classroom lessons, Naruto replied with a grim smile, turning toward the doorway as space warped outside. Looks like I'm about to get my first real exam. Chapter 2, Divine Intervention. The air crackled with tension as 6 distinct rifts tore open outside Naruto's dimensional space. Gods of destruction stepped through one by one, each radiating enough power to obliterate planets without effort. Naruto stood in the doorway, Vados and Marcarita flanking him, while his friends positioned themselves protectively behind. Quite the welcoming committee, Naruto muttered, counting the arrivals. Beerus and Kampa he recognized from earlier. The others were new, a clown-like figure with red skin, a fox-headed deity, a muscular blue humanoid, and a slim feminine figure with pink skin. Beerus stepped forward. So the rumors are true. A mortal with Omni-King power. I have a name, Naruto replied. It's Naruto Uzumaki. Names are earned among cosmic entities, the clown god said, his voice surprisingly melodious. I am Belmod, god of destruction for Universe 11. You've already met my attendant, Marcarita. Marcarita twirled her staff. Hello, Lord Belmod. Fancy seeing you here. When my attendant disappears to train a new Omni-King, I take notice, Belmod replied dryly. The feminine deity floated forward. I'm Herace, Universe 2. We've come to evaluate this situation. You mean you've come to see if you can eliminate me before I settle into my power, Naruto translated bluntly. The gods exchanged glances, surprised by his directness. Perceptive for a mortal, the fox-headed god acknowledged. I am Liquier of Universe 8. Look, Naruto said, stepping forward. I get it. You're worried about some random human suddenly getting god powers. But I didn't ask for this, and I'm not looking to disrupt whatever system you've got going. I just want to learn control and keep my world safe. Noble sentiments, the muscular blue god rumbled. I am Sidra of Universe 9. But intentions matter less than capability. The Omni-King maintains balance across all existence. Then test me, Naruto challenged. But not here. Not near my village. He raised his hand, creating a portal that opened onto a barren wasteland, a pocket dimension he just formed specifically for this confrontation. After you, he gestured to the gods. He creates dimensions at will, Laquire noted, impressed despite himself. The power transfer appears genuine. One by one, they passed through the portal, followed by Naruto and the angels. Sasuke moved to follow, but Naruto stopped him. Stay here with the others, he requested. This is something I need to handle alone. You're facing 6 gods of destruction, Sasuke pointed out. Even for you, that's reckless. I need to establish boundaries now, Naruto replied. If I show weakness or dependency, they'll never respect me. Vados nodded approvingly. He understands divine politics better than expected. Besides, Naruto added with a grin, I've got these 2 watching my back. He jerked his thumb toward Vados and Marcarita. We're not here to intervene, Marcarita corrected cheerfully. Just to observe and occasionally pick up the pieces. Very reassuring, Sakura muttered. Naruto stepped through the portal, which sealed behind him. In the wasteland dimension, the gods had spread out in a semicircle, evaluating him with ancient eyes. Let's set some ground rules, Beerus suggested. No universal erasure. We're testing control and worthiness, not trying to end existence. Fine by me, Naruto agreed. So how does this work? You all attack at once, or do we take turns? Belmod laughed, the sound echoing strangely in the empty dimension. Eager, aren't you? Each of us will test an aspect of your power and character. Omni-King authority isn't just about raw strength. I'll begin, Herase stepped forward. My test concerns creation. She swept her hand elegantly, and the barren wasteland transformed, lush gardens sprouting instantly, beautiful fountains erupting from the ground, a palace of crystal manifesting behind her. Beauty and harmony are essential elements of creation, she explained. Show me your understanding of aesthetic balance. Naruto hadn't expected an art test. He scratched his head. I'm not exactly known for being fancy. The test isn't about what you think I want, Herase clarified. It's about your authentic expression. What does creation mean to you? Naruto considered this, then smiled. He raised his hands, and the landscape rippled. Herase's elegant gardens and palaces dissolved, replaced by something entirely different. A village took shape, not Konoha, but something new. Humble homes nestled alongside grand buildings. A school where children of all species played together. Markets filled with foods from different worlds. At its center stood a massive tree. Its roots visibly connecting every building, its branches extending up to touch multiple moons of different colors. Creation isn't just about making pretty things, Naruto explained. It's about making things that bring people together. That help them grow. Herase circled the manifestation, examining details with a critical eye. Functional beauty rather than decorative. Interesting. She paused at the tree. And this? Where I'm from, trees represent both strength and connection, Naruto explained. This one symbolizes how different people, different worlds can all be nourished by the same source. Not what I would create, Herase admitted. But authentic and purposeful. She nodded, stepping back. Acceptable. Laquire came forward next. My test concerns perception. An Omni-King must see beyond appearances. The fox-headed god created a complex illusion, thousands of identical spheres surrounding Naruto. One of these contains a universe in miniature. Find it. Naruto looked at the overwhelming number of spheres. Can I touch them? No. You must perceive without physical contact. Naruto closed his eyes, extending his awareness. The new senses he'd gained with Zeno's power let him perceive beyond normal limitations. Each sphere registered differently, most were solid constructs of divine energy, but one. His eyes snapped open, and he pointed to a sphere that appeared identical to the rest. That one. It contains life, trillions of souls. Lequire's ears twitched in surprise. Correct. And what else can you tell me about it? Naruto focused on the sphere, delving deeper into his perception. It's dying. The stars are going out. The central black hole is consuming everything. Yes, Lequire confirmed. Now, what would you do about it? Is this a real universe? Naruto asked sharply. Does it matter? Of course it does. Naruto approached the sphere. If real people are suffering, we need to help them, not use them for tests. Lequire smiled, revealing sharp teeth. And that is the correct answer. It is a simulation, but your instinctive concern reveals character. An Omni-King who doesn't care about individual lives becomes a tyrant. The spheres vanished, and Sidra stepped forward. The muscular god created a single orb of destructive energy between his palms. My test concerns balance, he stated. Destruction and creation are two sides of the same coin. Without destruction, creation becomes stagnant. Without creation, destruction becomes meaningless. He launched the energy at Naruto, not directly, but at the ground beneath him. The dimension began to unravel where the energy hit, reality itself coming apart at the seams. Stabilize it without nullifying the destruction, Sidra instructed. The energy must be allowed to fulfill its purpose, but within controlled parameters. Naruto focused on the unraveling dimension. Simply stopping the destruction would be easy, he could feel that power at his fingertips. But Sidra was right about balance. Destruction had its place. Instead of countering the energy, Naruto redirected it. The unraveling continued, but now in a pattern, breaking down old structures to form new ones. The barren parts of the dimension dissolved, their energy recycled into fresh creation. Destruction as transformation, Sidra observed. Not elimination but renewal. Good. The blue god nodded in approval as the destructive energy completed its work, leaving the dimension altered but stronger, with new foundations built from the remnants of what was destroyed. Kampa waddled forward next, his round form belying his power. My test is simpler. Combat. An Omni-King must command respect through strength. Without warning, he launched himself at Naruto, moving faster than light. His fist, charged with destruction energy, aimed straight for Naruto's chest. Instead of dodging, Naruto stood his ground. The moment before impact, he shifted slightly, not in physical space, but in dimensional alignment. Kampa's fist passed through him, the destructive energy dissipating harmlessly. What? Kampa spun, confused. I'm still here, Naruto said from exactly the same spot. Just slightly out of phase with your attack. Kampa growled and unleashed a barrage of energy blasts. Naruto phased through each one, never moving from his position. To the observers, it appeared as though the attack simply passed through him ineffectively. Stop dodging and fight back. Kampa demanded. If you insist, Naruto replied. He didn't launch an attack of his own, instead, he simply reversed Kampa's own energy, sending it back at its creator. Kampa's eyes widened as his own destruction technique rebounded toward him. He barely blocked it, the force pushing him back several yards. Interesting approach, Beerus commented from the sideline. Using his opponent's energy against them rather than generating his own. Enough. Kampa shouted. One final attack. No holds barred. The rotund god rose into the air, his body glowing purple as he gathered enormous power. The fabric of the pocket dimension strained under the energy buildup. This is getting dangerous, Vados murmured to Marcarita. Lord Kampa is actually serious. Let's see how our student handles it, Marcarita replied, watching intently. Kampa unleashed his attack, a massive beam of pure destructive energy that could erase solar systems. It raced toward Naruto, who still hadn't moved from his original position. At the last possible moment, Naruto raised one hand. The beam hit his palm and simply stopped. Not deflected, not absorbed, stopped, as if it had hit an absolute barrier. Impossible, Kampa gasped. Naruto closed his fingers around the energy, compressing it until it was the size of a marble. He studied it curiously. Your power's not bad, he said, flicking the marble back to Kampa. But you're too angry when you use it. Makes it unstable. Kampa caught the marble reflexively, staring at the compressed form of his ultimate attack. You, compressed a Hakai sphere? Is that what it's called? Naruto shrugged. It seemed wasteful to just let it dissipate. Belmod stepped forward, slow applause echoing across the dimension. Most illuminating. But my test differs from the others. I wish to know your values. The clown god created an illusion, a planet filled with life, peaceful and prosperous. Beside it appeared another planet, war-torn and suffering. You can save only one, Belmod stated. The peaceful planet contains 1 billion innocent lives. The suffering planet holds 2 billion souls, half of whom are criminals and warmongers. Which do you save? Naruto frowned. That's a terrible choice. Leadership often requires terrible choices, Belmod countered. Choose. Naruto approached the illusory planets, studying them closely. What makes someone a criminal? Who decided the laws they broke were just? Belmod raised an eyebrow. Does it matter? Some beings cause harm to others. They're criminals by any reasonable definition. And the peaceful planet, Naruto continued. Did they earn their peace, or were they just lucky? Do they help others or keep to themselves? You're avoiding the choice, Belmod noted. No, I'm questioning its premise, Naruto replied. An Omni-King shouldn't have to choose between worlds like this. He reached out, touching both illusions simultaneously. Energy flowed from his hands, and the planets transformed. Bridges of light connected them, knowledge and resources flowing from the peaceful world to the suffering one, while the suffering world sent manpower and raw determination in return. Balance them, Naruto said simply. Help them help each other. Belmod's expression was unreadable. And the criminals? The warmongers? Give them a chance to change, Naruto replied. And if they won't, let justice be proportional. Not everyone deserves erasure. The clown god studied him silently before nodding. You refuse false choices. Good. Finally, Beerus approached. Unlike the others, he didn't create a test. He simply stood before Naruto, eyes narrowed in assessment. You've passed their tests through creativity and compassion, he noted. But I want to know something more fundamental. Why do you wish to keep your mortal ties? Most beings granted such power would ascend beyond their origins. It was a deeper question than Naruto had expected from the temperamental god. Because they ground me, he answered honestly. My friends, my village, they remind me what power is for. Protection, not dominance. Without them, I might forget that. Beerus studied him for a long moment, then snorted. Sentimental, but genuine. He turned to the other gods. I've seen enough. The gods of destruction conferred briefly, speaking in tones too low for Naruto to hear. Finally, they turned back to him. We acknowledge your position as Omni-King, Beerus announced formally. Though your methods are unorthodox. Your training should continue, Herace added. Your potential is impressive, but your technique requires refinement. And what about my world? Naruto asked. Will you leave it in peace? The gods exchanged glances again. Your world now exists under Omni-King protection, Laquire stated. None would dare threaten it directly. However, Belmont added, your continued attachment to it may draw attention. Not all cosmic entities will approve of your dual role. That's my problem to deal with, Naruto replied firmly. Indeed it is, Beerus agreed. We'll take our leave. But expect to be summoned to the divine realm soon. The Grand Priest will want to formalize your position. One by one, the gods of destruction opened rifts and departed, until only Beerus and Kampa remained. A word of advice, Beerus said quietly. The angels are bound by complex rules. Even they don't know all the laws that govern their existence. Trust them, but not blindly. With that cryptic warning, he too departed. Kampa lingered a moment longer. You made me look foolish, he grumbled. I won't forget that. Wasn't trying to embarrass you, Naruto replied honestly. Just didn't want to fight if I didn't have to. Kampa studied him, then surprised Naruto with a bark of laughter. You're an odd Omni-King. Maybe that's not entirely bad. He glanced at Vados. Take care of this one. He'll need all the help he can get. After Kampa vanished, Naruto turned to the angels. So, did I pass? With flying colors, Marcarita confirmed, clapping her hands. Most new divine entities try to overwhelm their challengers with raw power. Your approach was refreshingly nuanced. Indeed, Vados agreed. Though your techniques require significant refinement. Naruto dismissed the pocket dimension, returning them to his created space outside Konoha where his friends waited anxiously. You're back. Sakura rushed forward, stopping just short of hugging him. Are you okay? What happened? Divine hazing ritual, Naruto explained with a grin. But I think I'm officially in the God Club now. Not quite that simple, Marcarita corrected. But you've earned a measure of respect, which is an excellent start. Sasuke studied him closely. Your power feels different. More settled. The tests helped him align with his abilities, Vados explained. Combat often accelerates adaptation for warriors. So what now? Kakashi asked. Now, Marcarita said, twirling her staff energetically, the real training begins. The next morning, Naruto found himself floating cross-legged above a lake outside the village. Marcarita circled him like a predator, occasionally poking him with her staff when his concentration wavered. Focus, she commanded. Your awareness should extend to every water molecule without disrupting them. I'm trying, Naruto grunted. But there are trillions of them. Exactly. An Omni-King perceives everything simultaneously. Your mind must learn to process infinite information without overwhelming your consciousness. Nearby, Vados observed while sipping tea that steamed despite the cup having no visible heat source. Perhaps a more familiar approach would help, she suggested. He's accustomed to channeling power through his chakra network. Marcarita paused, considering. Unorthodox, but potentially effective. She floated directly in front of Naruto. Very well. Instead of expanding your awareness outward, try channeling it through your existing energy pathways. Naruto nodded gratefully. This at least sounded like something he understood. He focused inward, finding the familiar network of chakra channels that threaded throughout his body. Instead of pushing his awareness out, he drew the cosmic perception in, letting it flow through pathways designed for energy manipulation. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The lake beneath him began to glow, each water molecule suddenly visible to his perception as the cosmic awareness flowed through his chakra network and extended outward in a controlled manner. I can see them, he exclaimed. Every molecule, every atom, but without the overwhelming input. Fascinating, Vados murmured, approaching to examine the phenomenon. He's using his mortal energy system as a filter for divine perception. Is that good or bad? Naruto asked, maintaining his focus. Neither. Simply different, Marcarita replied. Angels are created with built-in mechanisms to handle cosmic awareness. Gods of destruction undergo millennia of adaptation. You're creating a hybrid approach on the fly. That's kinda my specialty, Naruto grinned. Improvising. Let's test the limits, Vados suggested. She tapped her staff on the air, creating a tear in reality that revealed distant galaxies. Extend your perception through the rift. Tell me what you see in the seventh star system to the left. Naruto directed his awareness through the opening, using his chakra network as a conduit. The sensation was strange, like stretching a muscle he hadn't known he possessed. His perception shot across light years of space until he focused on the indicated star system. 3 suns, he reported. 7 planets. The fourth one has oceans. And some kind of serpentine life forms. They're building underwater cities using coral, I think. Correct, Vados confirmed, looking genuinely impressed. That's the Nilian system in Universe 7. Over 8 billion light-years from here. Cool, Naruto said, then winced as maintaining the extended perception became painful. But it hurts to hold it that long. Natural limitation of your adaptation method, Marcarita explained. Your chakra network wasn't designed for cosmic perception. We'll need to gradually strengthen it. Like training a muscle? Naruto asked, letting his awareness snap back to his immediate surroundings. Precisely, Vados agreed. Daily exercises extending slightly further each time. They spent the next several hours practicing different perception techniques, gradually increasing the range and detail Naruto could handle. By midday, he could maintain awareness of the entire planet without strain, a significant improvement from the previous day. Enough perception training, Marcarita announced. Let's move to something more entertaining. Creation control. She led them to an empty field, then drew a circle in the air with her staff. The circle solidified into a glowing ring about 3 feet in diameter. Create something that can pass through this ring, she instructed. Something alive. Like what? Naruto asked. A bird? Too simple, Marcarita chided. Challenge yourself. But maintain precise control, the creation must fit exactly through the ring without touching the edges. Naruto thought for a moment, then grinned. He focused his power, channeling it through his chakra network as he practiced. Energy coalesced in front of him, taking shape gradually rather than instantly, another adaptation that gave him better control. A serpentine form materialized, iridescent scales shimmering with cosmic energy, feathered wings sprouting from just behind its head. The creature was exactly the diameter of the ring, its body extending about 20 feet in length. A dragon? Vados observed. Flying serpent, Naruto corrected. From stories my mom used to tell me. The creature circled once before gliding smoothly through Marcarita's ring without touching the edges. It emerged on the other side and returned to hover before Naruto, awaiting instruction. Excellent precision, Marcarita approved. Now dismiss it safely. This proved more challenging. Simply erasing his creation felt wrong to Naruto. Instead, he guided the flying serpent upward, gradually dissolving its form into particles of light that scattered like seeds across the field. Where they landed, small flowers bloomed instantaneously. You have an instinct for transformation rather than erasure, Vados noted. Interesting, given the Omni-King's traditional propensity for the latter. Destruction always seemed like the easy way out, Naruto replied with a shrug. Anyone can break stuff. Building something better takes real work. A refreshingly mortal perspective, Marcarita said, though her tone suggested she wasn't entirely convinced. But sometimes erasure is necessary. Not everything can or should be transformed. Like what? Existential threats. Paradoxes. Beings of pure corruption. Marcarita created an image of a black, writhing mass that seemed to devour light itself. Some things exist only to consume and destroy. They cannot be reasoned with or redeemed. Naruto studied the image with a frown. Maybe. But I'd want to be damn sure before erasing anything permanently. A wise approach, Vados interjected. But Marcarita's point stands. You must be prepared to use all aspects of your power, including erasure. The training continued through the afternoon, shifting from creation to limited destruction techniques. Naruto learned to erase small objects with precision, always focusing on control rather than power. By evening, he could dissolve a single leaf while leaving the rest of a tree untouched. As the sun set, they returned to Naruto's dimensional space for rest and reflection. Inside, the structure had evolved during their absence, incorporating elements from both Earth and the divine realms. Impossible architecture created rooms that were somehow both cozy and infinite, a physical manifestation of Naruto's developing powers. Your subconscious continues to shape this space, Vados observed, running her hand along a wall that rippled like water at her touch. It's becoming quite distinctive. Is that good? Naruto asked, collapsing onto a couch that conformed perfectly to his body. It demonstrates integration, Vados explained. Your mortal self and divine powers finding harmony rather than conflict. Marcarita appeared with 3 glasses of a glowing blue liquid. A traditional refreshment after divine training, she explained, offering them around. It helps stabilize fluctuating energy. Naruto accepted the drink cautiously, sniffing it before taking a sip. The flavor was unlike anything he'd experienced, simultaneously sweet and savory, hot and cold, liquid and solid. It shifted with each moment, never settling into a single sensation. Whoa, he gasped after swallowing. That's intense. Essence of nebula, Marcarita explained with a smile. Harvested from dying stars at the precise moment of nova. Quite refreshing, isn't it? If by refreshing you mean, feels like drinking a supernova, then yeah, Naruto replied, taking another sip despite himself. The second taste was different, calmer, more harmonious, as if his perception was adapting. Vados settled gracefully onto a chair opposite him. Your progress today was impressive. Most new divine entities require decades to achieve the control you've developed in hours. Fast learner, Naruto shrugged. Plus I've had practice with weird energy before. Sage mode, Kurama's chakra, 6 paths power, they all require different approaches. Your past experiences certainly provide advantages, Vados acknowledged. Though I suspect your nature plays an equal role. You adapt because you must, because others depend on you. Naruto looked up, surprised by her insight. Yeah, I guess that's always been my thing. Finding a way because people are counting on me. Marcarita circled the room restlessly, examining the various artifacts that had manifested from Naruto's subconscious, scrolls, weapons, photographs of his friends, all subtly altered by cosmic energy. You've created quite the sanctuary, she observed. A perfect blend of mortal comfort and divine possibility. It still doesn't feel like home, Naruto admitted. More like, a really fancy hotel. Give it time, Vados advised. This space will evolve as you do. A comfortable silence fell as they sipped their drinks, the events of the day settling in Naruto's mind. After a while, he voiced a question that had been bothering him. Why are you two helping me? Really? The Grand Priest assigned you, but you seem, I don't know, actually interested in how I'm doing. The angels exchanged glances, a silent communication passing between them. Curiosity, partly, Vados admitted. You represent something unprecedented, a mortal ascending directly to Omni-King without intermediate steps. And honestly? Relief, Marcarita added, surprising both Naruto and Vados with her candor. Lord Zeno was, capricious. Universes existed or ceased to exist based on momentary whims. Your approach, while unrefined, seems more considered. Marcarita, Vados warned. Such assessments are inappropriate. Oh, please, Marcarita waved dismissively. He's the Omni-King now. Honesty serves him better than platitudes. It's okay, Naruto assured them. I appreciate the straight talk. Was Zeno really that bad? Not bad, Vados clarified carefully. Simply, detached. Existence itself was a game to him, pieces to be arranged or removed at will. His perspective was beyond mortal understanding, Marcarita added, though her tone suggested this wasn't entirely a compliment. He erased 6 universes once because their food was yucky. Naruto nearly choked on his drink. He what? 6 entire universes? With trillions of lives? Such is the prerogative of the Omni-King, Vados stated, her expression carefully neutral. Ultimate authority carries ultimate discretion. That's insane, Naruto said flatly. No one should have that kind of power without accountability. And yet, you now possess that same power, Marcarita pointed out. Which is precisely why your mortal perspective is so interesting. You see value in individual lives in a way Lord Zeno never did. Naruto stared into his glass, watching the nebula essence swirl with cosmic patterns. The responsibility he'd inherited suddenly felt much heavier. I won't be like that, he promised quietly. If I have to make tough calls, they'll be for good reasons. Not whims. A noble sentiment, Vados said softly. Though the distinction between necessity and preference can blur after millennia of existence. Then I'll need people to keep me grounded, Naruto replied, looking up at them both. People who'll call me out if I start going too far. Marcarita laughed. Are you asking us to be your divine conscience, Naruto Uzumaki? Maybe I am, he answered seriously. Someone has to be. The angels fell silent, genuinely surprised by his request. Angels served and advised, but challenging an Omni-King directly was virtually unheard of. We'll consider it, Vados finally said, her usual composure slightly shaken. Before they could discuss further, a familiar presence approached the dimensional space. Naruto sensed Sasuke outside, his energy signature unmistakable. Come in, he called, using his power to open the door from a distance. Sasuke entered, his mismatched eyes taking in the impossible architecture and the 2 angels with a single sweeping glance. We need to talk, he said without preamble. Alone. Vados stood gracefully. We'll retire for the evening. Tomorrow's training begins at dawn. Venus quadrant calibration exercises, Marcarita added with a wink. My favorite. Very explosive if done incorrectly. The angels departed to their respective quarters within the dimensional space, leaving Naruto alone with Sasuke. What's up? Naruto asked, gesturing to the seat Vados had vacated. Sasuke remained standing. I've been researching interdimensional energy since yesterday. Something doesn't add up about your situation. You mean besides me suddenly becoming god of everything? Naruto asked dryly. Yes. The transfer itself. Sasuke activated his Rinnegan, studying Naruto's new energy signature. This power, it's not just sitting on top of your chakra. It's merged with it, changed it at a fundamental level. The angels mentioned that. Said it was unusual but not necessarily bad. What they didn't mention is that such a merger should be impossible, Sasuke continued. Divine energy and chakra operate on entirely different principles. They should repel each other, not merge. Naruto frowned. So what are you saying? That you were compatible somehow. Prepared. Sasuke paced the room. I think your body was already adapted to handle divine power before you ever met this Zeno. How would that happen? Think about it. Hagoromo's 6 paths power. Kagaya's otherworldly origin. The Otsutsuki clan itself. Sasuke stopped, fixing Naruto with an intense stare. What if they weren't just aliens? What if they were divine beings themselves, in some form? Naruto considered this, remembering his battles with Kagaya, her reality-warping abilities, her dimensional manipulation. You might be onto something, he admitted. But what does it mean? It means this might not be random. Chance, Sasuke replied. This Zeno may have chosen you specifically because you could handle the power where others couldn't. Or someone else set the whole thing up, Naruto realized, the implications sinking in. The hunters, the attack, all to force Zeno to transfer his power to me. Exactly. Sasuke finally took a seat. The question is, who would benefit from a mortal becoming Omni-King? And why you specifically? Your angels might know more than they're saying, he added after a pause. Naruto shook his head. Vados and Marcarita seemed genuinely surprised by all this. I don't think they're in on any conspiracy. Perhaps not knowingly, Sasuke conceded. But they serve greater powers. The Grand Priest, for one. Why would he want me to have this power? From what I gather, it's causing him administrative headaches. That's what you're being led to believe, Sasuke pointed out. We don't know his true agenda. They fell silent, considering the possibilities. After a while, Naruto sighed. So what do we do? I can't exactly give the power back, and I need their training to control it. Keep training, Sasuke advised. Grow stronger. But watch for inconsistencies in their teachings, gaps in information. And I'll continue investigating on my end. Thanks, Sasuke. Naruto gave his friend a tired smile. Always got my back, huh? Someone has to, Sasuke replied with a hint of his old smirk. You attract trouble like no one else. As Sasuke left, Naruto remained on the couch, staring at the ceiling as it shifted through cosmic patterns. The possibility that he'd been maneuvered into this position was disturbing, but not entirely surprising. His life had been shaped by others' machinations since before his birth. Difference is, he murmured to himself, this time I've got the power to push back. The next several days fell into a rhythm of increasingly advanced training. Mornings focused on perception and awareness, afternoons on creation and destruction techniques, evenings on the theoretical aspects of cosmic law. Naruto absorbed it all with remarkable speed, his natural adaptability enhanced by the power itself. On the 5th day, Marcarita proposed a more practical test. Combat application, she announced over breakfast. It's one thing to perform techniques in controlled conditions. Quite another to apply them under pressure. Who am I fighting? Naruto asked, already excited by the prospect. Theoretical training was useful but boring. Me, Marcarita replied with a smile that was half playful, half predatory. Vados raised an eyebrow. Is that wise? Your combat style tends toward the excessive. He needs to be pushed, Marcarita insisted. Coddling won't prepare him for real challenges. I can handle it, Naruto assured them confidently. I've fought goddesses before. Angels are different from gods, Vados warned. Our techniques are more refined, more precise. Perfect, Naruto grinned. I could use some precision training. They relocated to a specially created arena dimension, a flat, featureless plane that extended infinitely in all directions. The blank canvas would show any damage clearly, allowing them to assess power control. Rules? Naruto asked, stretching as he prepared. No universal erasure, no timeline manipulation, Marcarita listed. Otherwise, all techniques are permitted. The goal isn't victory but application, show me how you'd use your powers in actual combat. And when does it end? When one of us yields, or when Vados determines the exercise has served its purpose. Marcarita twirled her staff, her playful demeanor shifting to something more focused. Ready? Naruto dropped into a fighting stance, drawing on both his shinobi training and his new powers. Ready. Marcarita moved first, vanishing from sight only to reappear directly behind him, staff swinging toward his head. Naruto phased instinctively, letting the weapon pass through his temporarily intangible form. Good reflex, Marcarita approved, immediately launching her next attack, a barrage of energy blasts from her free hand. Instead of dodging or phasing again, Naruto created a series of small portals that caught each blast and redirected them in random directions away from both combatants. Creative, Vados noted from the sideline. Using spatial manipulation defensively. Naruto pressed his advantage, forming a Rasengan infused with divine energy. The familiar spiraling sphere now contained swirling galaxies within its depths, power far beyond its original form. He lunged forward, driving it toward Marcarita's midsection. The angel countered by tapping her staff on the ground, creating a localized time distortion that slowed Naruto's attack to a crawl. She stepped aside casually, then released the distortion. Time manipulation is cheating. Naruto protested as his Rasengan continued its path through empty space. I said no timeline manipulation, Marcarita corrected with a smirk. Localized temporal effects are fair game. Besides, many opponents won't fight fair. Use your chakra network as an anchor. Naruto focused inward, finding the familiar pathways of his chakra system. He used them as a reference point, pulling his fragmented existence back together through sheer will. That was dangerous, he gasped once he'd fully reintegrated. That was educational, Marcarita corrected, though there was concern beneath her confident exterior. You need to defend all aspects of your existence, not just the physical. They continued sparring, Naruto quickly incorporating the lesson. He began layering his own attacks, simultaneously targeting Marcarita's physical form, energy signature, and dimensional presence. His progress was remarkable, each exchange showing improved technique and understanding. By the third hour of combat, he was holding his own against the angel, even surprising her occasionally with innovative combinations of shinobi jutsu and divine power. Finally, Vados raised her staff, signaling an end to the session. Enough. The objective has been achieved. Both combatants lowered their guards, the dimension around them bearing scars of their battle, reality fractures, gravitational distortions, and areas where space-time had been temporarily rewritten. Impressive adaptation, Marcarita acknowledged, her formal tone belied by the excited gleam in her eyes. You fight like no divine entity I've ever encountered. Thanks, Naruto panted, exhausted but exhilarated. You're pretty amazing yourself. The integration of shinobi techniques with Omni-King power creates unique combat applications, Vados observed, examining a particularly interesting distortion where Naruto had combined shadow clone jutsu with reality duplication. The shadow clones were key, Naruto explained. They let me experiment with different approaches simultaneously, finding what worked fastest. A learning method perfectly suited to your background, Vados nodded. Though traditional divine entities would consider it unorthodox. Story of my life, Naruto grinned. Finding weird solutions that somehow work. They repaired the damage to the dimension before returning to their base. Naruto was surprised to find several visitors waiting. Sakura, Shikamaru, and Sai stood outside the dimensional doorway, clearly having been there for some time. There you are. Sakura exclaimed. We've been trying to reach you for hours. Sorry, Naruto apologized. We were in a training dimension. What's wrong? The daimyo's representatives are here, Shikamaru explained. Word about your new status has spread. They're demanding explanations and assurances. Naruto sighed. Politics. Great. It was inevitable, Vados noted. Power shifts of this magnitude rarely remain secret for long. We've stalled them for now, Sai added. But Kakashi-sama can only delay the meeting until tomorrow morning. Then I'll be there, Naruto promised. Though I'm not sure what I'm supposed to tell them. The truth, selectively delivered, Marcarita suggested with a smile. You've acquired new abilities that place Konoha under cosmic protection. The details are classified for security reasons. That might actually work, Shikamaru mused. Politicians love feeling like they're in on secrets without actually knowing anything substantial. Will you both come with me? Naruto asked the angels. Having divine representatives there might help sell it. Of course, Vados agreed smoothly. Diplomatic relations fall within our advisory capacity. Though I should probably do most of the talking, Naruto added quickly, giving Marcarita a pointed look. What? She asked innocently. Don't think I can be diplomatic. I think your idea of diplomacy might involve turning someone into a potted plant if they annoy you, Naruto replied dryly. Only once, Marcarita protested. And he deserved it. Very rude god of destruction from Universe 4. Sakura's eyes widened. She's joking, right? Probably not, Shikamaru muttered. As his friends caught him up on village matters, Naruto realized he'd been so absorbed in divine training that he'd lost track of his normal responsibilities. It was a balancing act he'd need to master, cosmic duties alongside human connections. Later that evening, after his friends departed, Naruto found Vados on the roof of their dimensional space, gazing at the stars. Homesick? He asked, joining her. Angels don't experience homesickness in the mortal sense, she replied. But I do find myself contemplating the divine realm occasionally. Tell me about it, Naruto requested, genuinely curious. What's it like where you come from? Vados considered the question. It exists beyond conventional space-time. Imagine a place where thought and reality are the same thing, where physical laws are merely suggestions. Beauty and order in perfect harmony. Sounds peaceful, Naruto observed. Perhaps too peaceful, at times, Vados admitted, surprising him with her candor. Divine existence is ordered, predictable. Your mortal realm, despite its limitations, possesses a certain vitality that ours lacks. Is that why you seem to enjoy teaching me? Because it's unpredictable? Vados looked at him directly, her ancient eyes reflecting starlight. Partially. In millions of years of existence, you are something genuinely new. That alone makes this assignment noteworthy. Just noteworthy? Naruto asked with a half-smile. The corner of Vados's mouth curved upward slightly. Perhaps somewhat more than that. Your approaches to problems are refreshing. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the stars. Naruto realized he could now see far beyond what human eyes normally perceived, past the visible stars to distant galaxies, cosmic phenomena invisible to ordinary vision. Tomorrow's meeting with the daimyo's people, he said eventually. Any advice? Remember that you are no longer just Naruto Uzumaki of Konoha, Vados replied. You are the Omni-King, ultimate authority of all existence. While you may choose to respect their political structures, you are not bound by them. That feels wrong, Naruto frowned. Using cosmic power to override local authority. I'm not suggesting you should, Vados clarified. Merely that you understand the true dynamic. Appearing as a supplicant would be inappropriate and potentially dangerous. Dangerous how? Divine power responds to self-perception, she explained. If you behave as subordinate to mortal authorities, your powers may become unstable, creating discordance between your role and your actions. So I need to act like a king even when I don't feel like one, Naruto summarized. For stability's sake, yes. Vados studied him thoughtfully. Though your definition of kingship need not match traditional expectations. Authority need not be cold or distant. Naruto nodded, absorbing the advice. It wasn't so different from what Jiraiya had taught him about leadership, project confidence even when uncertain, because others take their cues from you. Thanks, Vados, he said sincerely. Not just for the advice, but for everything these past few days. I'd be completely lost without your guidance. You're a surprisingly apt pupil, she replied, the compliment genuine despite her reserved tone. Your progress exceeds all rational expectations. Coming from her, Naruto knew this was high praise indeed. The meeting with the daimyo's representatives went better than expected. Naruto struck a careful balance, respectful but not deferential, forthcoming with necessary information while keeping cosmic details vague. Vados and Marcarita's presence lent weight to his explanations, their otherworldly appearance and manner convincing the officials that something truly significant had occurred. So this power of yours, the lead representative asked, it offers protection to the fire country? It offers protection to existence itself, Naruto replied carefully. But yes, that includes the fire country. And these, divine beings, the man continued, gesturing to the angels, they answer to you now. We serve as advisors to the Omni-King, Vados corrected smoothly. A position Lord Naruto now holds. The officials exchanged glances, clearly trying to calculate the political implications. This changes the balance of power among nations, one woman noted. The other countries will be concerned. I've already sent messages to the other Kage, Kakashi interjected. A 5 Kage summit has been proposed for next month to discuss these developments. My position transcends national politics, Naruto stated firmly. I'm not a weapon for Konoha or the fire country to use against others. My responsibility is to all life, everywhere. This declaration clearly disappointed some of the representatives, but others seemed relieved. After more questions and assurances, the meeting concluded with a tentative agreement. Naruto would maintain his Konoha affiliation but operate independently in his divine capacity, with the village serving as a liaison between the mortal and divine realms. Nicely handled, Marcarita commented as they left the Hokage Tower. You struck the perfect balance between mortal diplomat and divine authority. Indeed, Vados agreed. Though the summit of leaders will likely prove more challenging. One crisis at a time, Naruto sighed. At least they didn't demand demonstrations. Speaking of demonstrations, Marcarita said with a gleam in her eye, it's time to advance your training. Cosmic construction rather than simple creation. What's the difference? Naruto asked as they walked through the village. Creation forms objects or beings from divine energy, Vados explained. Cosmic construction shapes reality itself, laws of physics, dimensional properties, fundamental forces. You mean like creating an entire pocket universe with its own rules? Precisely, Marcarita nodded. An essential skill for an Omni-King. Universal management often requires custom-designed spaces for specific purposes. They reached the outskirts of the village, where Naruto sensed a familiar presence waiting. Sasuke stood beneath a tree, arms crossed. Uchiha, Marcarita greeted with a nod. Come to observe the training? Something like that, Sasuke replied. His expression was tense, indicating he had information to share. What's wrong? Naruto asked immediately. Not here, Sasuke glanced meaningfully at the angels. Private conversation first. Vados raised an eyebrow but didn't object. We'll prepare the training site. Join us when you're ready. As the angels moved ahead, Sasuke activated a privacy jutsu that distorted sound around them. I found something, he said without preamble. During my dimensional exploration. Energy signatures matching the hunters that attacked you and Zeno. Naruto straightened. Where? Multiple locations across dimensions, but concentrating. Near a boundary area between Universe 4 and 5, according to the cosmic map you shared with me. That's unexpected, Naruto frowned. The angels indicated the hunters were extra-universal entities, operating outside the normal multiverse structure. Either they were wrong or they lied, Sasuke stated bluntly. These energy signatures are definitely within the established multiverse, and they're growing stronger. You think they're planning another attack? Unknown. But there's more. Sasuke lowered his voice further. I detected another energy signature near their concentration points. Similar to Kagaya's. Naruto's blood ran cold. Otsutsuki. Or something related. The resonance frequency matches their dimensional manipulation techniques. This was troubling on multiple levels. If the Otsutsuki clan had connections to the dimensional hunters, it suggested a conspiracy spanning universes. And if they were involved in engineering Zeno's power transfer. I need to tell Vados and Marcarita, Naruto decided. They might have insights we're missing. Or they might be part of whatever's happening, Sasuke countered. We don't know who to trust yet. I trust them, Naruto replied firmly. They've been straight with me so far, and they've had plenty of opportunities to betray me if that was their plan. Sasuke didn't look convinced, but nodded reluctantly. Your call. But I'll continue investigating independently. Thanks. Keep me posted on anything else you find. They rejoined the angels, who had created a specialized training area, a crystal platform floating above a misty void, surrounded by geometric shapes of various colors and compositions. Everything all right? Marcarita asked, her casual tone not quite masking her curiosity. Sasuke found traces of those dimensional hunters that attacked Zeno, Naruto explained directly. And possibly Otsutsuki energy nearby. The angels exchanged sharp glances. Where exactly? Vados asked, all pretense of disinterest gone. Sasuke described the locations, using the cosmic terminology he'd learned from Naruto's lessons. As he spoke, the angels' expressions grew increasingly troubled. That region lies near a dimensional fault line, Marcarita explained. A weak point between universes where barriers are naturally thinner. Perfect staging ground for cross-universal operations, Vados added. But the Otsutsuki connection is most concerning. If they've allied with dimensional hunters. You know about the Otsutsuki? Naruto asked, surprised. Not directly, Vados admitted. But we know of beings matching their description, world harvesters that travel between dimensions consuming the energy of entire planets. They're typically classified as cosmic parasites, Marcarita elaborated. Powerful but ultimately contain threats. If they've gained hunter technology, however, then they might be able to target divine beings, Naruto finished the thought. Like they did with Zeno. We should inform the Grand Priest immediately, Vados decided, raising her staff. Wait, Sasuke interrupted. Before we alert anyone, we need to consider all possibilities. He looked directly at the angels. Including the possibility that elements within the divine hierarchy might be complicit. Outrageous, Marcarita began, but Vados raised a hand, stopping her protest. The Uchiha raises a valid concern, she acknowledged. The coincidence of hunters targeting Lord Zeno specifically, near a world harboring a being capable of receiving his power, is statistically improbable. You think someone set this up? Naruto asked. I think we cannot dismiss the possibility, Vados replied carefully. Though who would benefit from such a scheme remains unclear. The Grand Priest oversees cosmic stability, a mortal Omni-King works against that goal, not toward it. Unless stability itself was becoming a problem, Marcarita suggested quietly, earning a sharp look from Vados. What? We're considering all possibilities, aren't we? What do you mean? Naruto pressed. Marcarita twirled her staff. Thoughtfully. The multiverse has existed in essentially the same configuration for eons. Gods of destruction balance creation, Kais oversee development, angels advise, and the Omni-King ensures overall equilibrium. But systems can become stagnant over time. Marcarita, Vados warned. This borders on inappropriate speculation. He needs to know the context he's operating in, Marcarita countered. Lord Zeno had become increasingly disinterested in cosmic management. The Tournament of Power was the first significant event he'd initiated in millions of years. Tournament of Power? Naruto asked. A combat tournament between universes, Vados explained reluctantly. The losing universes faced erasure. He erased entire universes over a tournament. Naruto exclaimed, horrified. That was his standard approach to cosmic management, Marcarita confirmed. Existence as entertainment, with little concern for consequences. Naruto paced the crystal platform, processing this information. So you're saying someone might have engineered this transfer to replace an apathetic Omni-King with me? Why? What makes me special? Your history suggests an unusual combination of traits, Vados observed. Immense power coupled with deep empathy. Determination to protect rather than rule. Ability to change established systems from within. Qualities that might appeal to someone seeking cosmic reform, Marcarita added. Sasuke had been listening silently, his mismatched eyes analyzing each statement. If this theory is correct, there are likely multiple factions with different agendas. Some wanting Naruto to succeed, others wanting to remove him. The hunters and possibly Otsutsuki in one camp, mysterious benefactors in another, Naruto summarized. Great. Cosmic political games. For now, we should proceed with training while gathering more information, Vados decided. Lord Naruto must be prepared regardless of which theory proves correct. Agreed, Marcarita nodded. Today's lesson becomes even more relevant, creating secure spaces that even hunters or Otsutsuki cannot easily breach. The training that followed was intense, focusing on advanced dimensional construction. Naruto learned to build pocket realities with customized physical laws, specialized barriers against different types of intrusion, and monitoring systems that could detect dimensional disturbances. Sasuke observed for a while before departing to continue his investigation, promising to maintain regular contact through secure channels. By evening, Naruto had successfully created his first complete pocket universe, a small but stable realm with its own physical laws, inhabitable environments, and sophisticated defenses. It connected to his dimensional space through a carefully controlled gateway, accessible only to those he specifically authorized. Impressive work, Vados acknowledged as they inspected the new creation. The integration of chakra-based security with divine barriers is particularly innovative. The perfect safe house, Marcarita added approvingly. Though I recommend adding temporal distortion fields as an additional precaution. I'll work on that tomorrow, Naruto promised, exhausted but satisfied with his progress. Creating an entire universe, even a small one, had drained his energy considerably. Rest is essential, Vados advised, noting his fatigue. Divine power replenishes through stillness as much as practice. They returned to the dimensional space, where Naruto was surprised to find a message waiting, a small crystal orb hovering above the main table, pulsing with gentle light. A communication from the divine realm, Marcarita explained, approaching the orb. Shall I activate it? Naruto nodded, bracing himself for whatever news it might contain. Marcarita tapped the crystal with her staff, and an image formed in the air above it, the Grand Priest, his expression as calm and inscrutable as ever. Lord Naruto, he greeted formally. I trust your training progresses satisfactorily. It's going well, Naruto replied cautiously. Though there have been some developments. Indeed. The activity near the dimensional fault line has not gone unnoticed. The Grand Priest's expression revealed nothing. The hunters grow bolder, and other entities move in patterns suggesting coordination. So he already knew. Naruto exchanged glances with the angels, trying to gauge how to proceed. There are concerns about their possible connection to Otsutsuki clan members, he stated directly, watching carefully for the Grand Priest's reaction. A reasonable inference, the divine being acknowledged without surprise. The Otsutsuki have long sought ways to transcend their limitations. Alliance with dimensional hunters would serve their ambitions. Do you know what they want? Naruto asked. What most parasitic entities desire, greater access to energy sources. Your power would represent the ultimate prize. The Grand Priest's image flickered slightly. Which brings me to the purpose of this communication. The Divine Assembly has convened and reached a decision regarding your status. Here it comes, Naruto thought, tensing. You are formally recognized as the legitimate Omni-King, the Grand Priest announced. With all authorities and responsibilities therein. A coronation ceremony will be held in the Divine Realm at the next cosmic alignment, approximately 30 days hence. Coronation. Naruto repeated, caught off guard. He'd expected challenges, not acceptance. Tradition demands formal investiture, the Grand Priest explained. Particularly in unusual succession cases. All major divine entities will attend to pledge their recognition. All of them in one place, Naruto noted. Convenient if someone wanted to target the divine hierarchy. The Grand Priest's eyes sharpened. Your tactical assessment is accurate. The ceremony serves multiple purposes, legitimizing your position while potentially drawing out threats in a controlled environment. Using me as bait, Naruto translated bluntly. Providing opportunity, the Grand Priest corrected smoothly. For threats to reveal themselves against prepared defenses, rather than striking at a time of their choosing. It made strategic sense, Naruto had to admit. Better to face enemies on his terms than theirs. Still, the political maneuvering felt uncomfortable. I'll be there, he agreed finally. Though I have conditions. The Grand Priest raised an eyebrow. Conditions? My friends attend as my personal guard. Non-negotiable. Naruto crossed his arms. And the ceremony doesn't interfere with my responsibilities to my world. After a moment's consideration, the Grand Priest nodded. Acceptable, within reasonable parameters. Vados and Marcarita will coordinate the details. His image began to fade. Continue your preparations, Lord Naruto. Events accelerate faster than anticipated. After the communication ended, silence filled the room. Well, Marcarita said finally. A coronation. How exciting. Is it normal to fast-track something like this? Naruto asked suspiciously. Not remotely, Vados admitted. The recognition of a new Omni-King typically involves years of transition ceremonies. So why rush it? Two possibilities, Marcarita mused. Either they truly accept you and wish to solidify your position quickly against emerging threats. Or they're setting me up, Naruto finished. The Grand Priest rarely acts without multiple layers of purpose, Vados noted carefully. But precipitating a confrontation in the divine realm, where defenses are strongest, would be strategically sound regardless of his ultimate agenda. Great, Naruto sighed. So I'm walking into either my coronation or a trap. Or both. Welcome to divine politics, Marcarita said with a sympathetic pat on his shoulder. Where every honor comes with a hidden test, and every test has consequences spanning universes. We should intensify your training, Vados decided. 30 days is minimal preparation for a divine coronation, even without potential threats. And we need to prepare your friends as well, Marcarita added. Mortals in the divine realm will need protection and enhancement to function properly. Naruto nodded, mind already racing through possibilities and preparations. We'll start tomorrow. Tonight, I need to inform Kakashi and the others. The news of the coronation spread quickly through Naruto's inner circle. Reactions varied from Kakashi's cautious pragmatism to Sakura's worried support to Shikamaru's strategic analysis. Sasuke, predictably, saw it as confirmation that larger forces were manipulating events. The timing is too convenient, he argued during a strategy session the following day. Right when we discover hunter activity, suddenly they're rushing to officially recognize you. The Grand Priest admits the ceremony might draw out enemies, Naruto pointed out. He's not hiding that aspect. Which makes it the perfect cover for something else, Sasuke countered. The obvious trap distracts from the subtle one. Paranoid but not unreasonable, Marcarita commented. Divine ceremonies often serve multiple purposes, not all declared openly. Regardless of hidden agendas, Vados interjected, the coronation represents an opportunity and a challenge that must be addressed. We have limited time to prepare. Preparations intensified over the following days. Naruto's training expanded to include divine ceremony protocols alongside combat and creation techniques. His friends underwent special conditioning to withstand the divine realm's unique properties, exercises and treatments that would allow mortal bodies to function in a space designed for cosmic entities. 10 days into this accelerated regimen, during a rare quiet evening, Naruto found Marcarita alone in the garden section of his dimensional space. She sat cross-legged above a reflective pool, her staff balanced perfectly on one finger as she meditated. Got a minute? He asked, approaching carefully. Despite their daily training, he still found her the more unpredictable of his two angelic mentors. For the Omni-King. Always. She opened her eyes, the staff continuing to balance impossibly on her fingertip. What troubles you, Lord Naruto? Drop the Lord stuff, he requested, sitting at the pool's edge. And a lot of things trouble me, but right now I'm curious about something specific. Oh. She tilted her head, the staff still perfectly balanced. You and Vados. You're both angels, both incredibly powerful, but you approach everything differently. I'm trying to understand why. Marcarita smiled, finally removing the staff from her finger with a flourish. Perceptive question. Angels, like mortals, develop distinct personalities despite similar origins. But it seems deeper than just personality, Naruto pressed. Vados approaches problems systematically, always careful. You're more. I don't know, willing to push boundaries. Ah. Marcarita's smile turned knowing. You've noticed the fundamental divergence in angelic philosophy. There's a philosophical split among angels. Not officially recognized, but yes. She floated down to sit beside him at the pool's edge. Angels exist to maintain cosmic balance, but interpretations of that duty vary. Some, like Vados, believe balance requires careful preservation of established systems. Others, like myself, believe true balance occasionally requires disruption. Disruption, Naruto repeated. You mean change? Precisely. Stagnation is its own form of imbalance. Her eyes reflected the pool's surface, suddenly ancient and serious despite her playful demeanor. The multiverse requires occasional chaos to prevent entropy. And where does the Grand Priest stand in this philosophical debate? Marcarita laughed softly. Cleverly asked. The Grand Priest transcends such divisions, or appears to. His actions often satisfy both schools of thought simultaneously, maintaining tradition while allowing for necessary evolution. Which makes him impossible to predict, Naruto noted. Now you're thinking like a divine entity, she approved. Understanding that even those dedicated to cosmic order can have complex, sometimes contradictory motivations. Naruto stared into the reflective pool, watching ripples spread from where his foot dangled near the surface. Do you think I'll ever understand all this? The politics, the cosmic responsibilities, the balance between preservation and change? You're asking the wrong question, Marcarita replied gently. The question isn't whether you'll understand it all, no one does, not even the Grand Priest. The question is whether you'll find your own path through it, your own definition of what balance means. And if my definition conflicts with established cosmic order? Then things get interesting, she said with a mischievous smile. Which is precisely why some of us find your ascension so intriguing. You represent potential change after eons of stasis. Is that why you seem to enjoy training me more than Vados does? Marcarita considered this. Vados appreciates your progress just as much as I do. She simply expresses it differently, through precision and careful guidance rather than enthusiasm. You complement each other, Naruto realized. As teachers. The Grand Priest chose us both for a reason, she confirmed. Together, we represent the duality of cosmic perspective. Preservation and evolution, tradition and innovation. And which perspective should I follow? Neither. Both. Create your own. Marcarita stood, twirling her staff before planting it firmly beside her. That's what makes you uniquely qualified as Omni-King. You're unconstrained by millennia of tradition yet shaped by profound mortal experience. Naruto pondered her words, finding unexpected wisdom beneath her playful exterior. Before he could respond, a disturbance rippled through his dimensional space, an alert system he'd created to monitor dimensional breaches near Earth. Both he and Marcarita tensed, extending their awareness toward the disturbance. Northern continent, near the former Otsutsuki dimensional gateway, Naruto identified immediately. Multiple entities emerging. Vados appeared beside them, having sensed the same disturbance. Hunters. 6 of them, with something else, an energy signature similar to but distinct from Otsutsuki. Seems we have visitors, Marcarita noted, her playful demeanor replaced by battle readiness. Perfect opportunity for a practical exam, wouldn't you say? I need to alert the others, Naruto decided, already creating communication links to Kakashi and Sasuke. If they're targeting Earth specifically, this could be a major attack. Or a probing action, Vados suggested. Testing defenses before the coronation. Either way, they picked the wrong planet to mess with, Naruto stated, cosmic energy gathering around him as he prepared for battle. Let's give them a proper welcome. Chapter 3, Ascension. Naruto flashed across the northern landscape, cosmic energy rippling around him as he moved faster than mortal eyes could track. Vados and Marcarita flanked him, their staffs humming with ancient power. Behind them followed Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi, keeping pace through a series of dimensional shortcuts Naruto had created. The dimensional breach pulsed ahead, a jagged tear in reality that hung over the ruins of Kagaya's former castle. 6-dimensional hunters had already emerged, their gray forms methodically establishing a perimeter while a 7th figure remained partially obscured within the rift. Hold here, Naruto signaled, stopping on a cliffside overlooking the scene. Let's assess before engaging. The 7th entity is concerning, Vados observed. Its energy signature contains Otsutsuki elements but with significant modifications. They're setting up a dimensional anchor, Sasuke noted, Rinnegan activated as he studied their movements. Similar to what Kagaya used, but more advanced. The hunters worked with mechanical precision, placing crystalline devices at specific points around the rift. The 7th figure finally emerged, humanoid but with elongated limbs and pale skin marked with pulsing blue lines. Instead of the traditional Otsutsuki robes, it wore segmented armor that seemed to shift and reconfigure continuously. That's not a pure Otsutsuki, Kakashi murmured. Some kind of hybrid. They're stabilizing the gateway, Marcarita warned. If they complete that array, they could bring an army through. Naruto nodded. Then we don't let them finish. Sasuke, Kakashi, target the anchor points. Sakura, be ready for close combat if any break through. Vados, Marcarita, that hybrid entity is probably the leader. Help me contain it. And if they resist? Vados asked. We find out what they're after, Naruto replied. But we stop this incursion, whatever it takes. They moved simultaneously, Naruto creating several shadow clones enhanced with divine energy as they descended toward the breach site. The hunters detected them immediately, abandoning their work to form a defensive formation. Omni-King detected, one announced in a mechanical voice. Primary target acquired. So I am their target, Naruto confirmed grimly. Good to know. The hunters deployed weapons, crystalline rods that extended into energy staves. They moved with unnatural coordination, each covering the other's vulnerabilities. Sasuke struck first, a massive Amaterasu flame engulfing 3 of the anchor points. The black fire consumed the devices, destabilizing that section of the dimensional tear. The hybrid entity finally noticed them, its face turning upward. Unlike the Otsutsuki, its eyes weren't Byakugan white but swirled with cosmic patterns similar to the Rinnegan. Vessel of Zeno, it called out, voice resonating oddly as if speaking through multiple dimensional layers. Your ascension was predicted but premature. Surrender the power willingly and your world remains intact. Not gonna happen, Naruto replied, landing at the center of the clearing. Who are you, and what's your connection to the Otsutsuki? I am Korath, evolutionary prime of the Tsumikami. The being floated forward, the air distorting around it. The ones you call Otsutsuki are merely failed prototypes of our greater design. The hunters attacked without warning, moving with blinding speed toward Naruto. His clones intercepted them, each clone utilizing different aspects of his divine power, one phased through attacks while counter-striking, another manipulated gravity to immobilize its opponent, a third created localized time distortions. Vados and Marcarita moved to flank Korath, their staffs ready. Sumikami, Vados repeated. The records mentioned your kind once, dimensional parasites that consume divine essence. Such limited perspective, Korith replied. We transcend consumption. We evolve through integration. By stealing powers from others, Marcarita countered. Like you're attempting with the Omni-King's abilities. While they spoke, Kakashi and Sasuke systematically destroyed the remaining anchor points, causing the dimensional rift to fluctuate wildly. Sakura engaged a hunter that broke through Naruto's clone defense, her chakra-enhanced strength shattering its crystalline armor. Korith noticed the deteriorating gateway and made a sharp gesture. The remaining hunters suddenly converged, forming a circle and linking arms. Energy pulsed between them, stabilizing the rift despite the destroyed anchors. Your resistance is predictable but futile, Korith stated. The Dimensional Council has determined that Omni-King power cannot remain with a mortal. The cosmic imbalance is unacceptable. Dimensional Council? Naruto questioned, keeping his distance as he assessed the enemy's capabilities. Never heard of them. They operate beyond the 12 universes, Vados explained tensely. Self-appointed guardians of multiversal boundaries. More like multiversal thieves, Marcarita added. They've attempted to harvest divine energy before. Koritha's expression remained impassive. Your angels speak from limited knowledge. The council maintains balance across dimensional clusters. Lord Zeno's power transfer violated fundamental protocols. Enough talk, Naruto decided. You're not taking my power, and you're not invading my world. He gathered divine energy, channeling it through his chakra network in the specialized technique he developed during training. Reality bent around him as he focused on the dimensional rift, intending to seal it permanently. Korith moved with surprising speed, interposing itself between Naruto and the rift. Premature, it stated, raising both hands. From its palms erupted chains of blue energy that shot toward Naruto. Don't let those touch you. Vados warned sharply. They're power siphons. Naruto phased, letting the chains pass through his temporarily intangible form. The moment they missed, Marcarita struck, her staff connecting with Koritha's side and sending the being tumbling through the air. Now, Lord Naruto, she called. Close the rift while it's distracted. Naruto refocused on the dimensional tear, reaching out with both his awareness and power. He could feel the structure of reality around the breach, where it had been forcibly separated, how it wanted to mend itself. Working with that natural tendency rather than against it, he guided the edges of spacetime back together. The hunters tried to maintain the opening, pouring energy into their circle. Sasuke disrupted their formation with a perfectly timed Chidori that scattered two of them, while Kakashi used Kamui to remove a third. From the battlefield entirely. Their coordination is breaking. Sakura called, delivering a ground-shattering punch that disrupted the remaining hunters' footing. The rift began to close, reality knitting back together under Naruto's guidance. Korith recovered mid-air, its expression showing emotion for the first time, alarm. Protocol Omega, it commanded. The remaining hunters immediately abandoned their defensive positions and converged on Naruto directly, their forms shifting from humanoid to amorphous masses of crystalline energy. They're going to self-destruct. Vados realized, moving to intercept. Naruto acted instinctively, creating a localized pocket dimension around himself and the attacking hunters. The transparent bubble of altered spacetime contained them as they detonated, a massive release of dimensional energy that would have carved a crater in the continent. Within the bubble, Naruto controlled the explosion, channeling its force away from himself and back into a controlled loop. The hunters disintegrated, their energy dispersing harmlessly within the contained space. Outside, Korith made a desperate lunge toward the nearly closed rift. This vessel has failed, but the council will send others, it declared. The power must return to proper authority. Marcarita intercepted it, her staff connecting with its chest. Your council has no authority over Omni-King's succession, she stated coldly, divine energy surging through her weapon. Korith convulsed as the angelic energy disrupted its form, but managed to twist away toward the rift's shrinking opening. The balance must be maintained. The mortal vessel will fail. Sasuke appeared behind it, Rinnegan glowing. You're not going anywhere. His hand shot forward, activating a modified version of the Six Paths technique that momentarily bound Korath in place. Naruto dissolved his protective bubble, having neutralized the hunter explosion. He turned his attention to Korath, extending his perception to analyze the being's nature. You're not just after my power, he realized, seeing deeper patterns in Korath's energy. You're dying. Your entire species is. Korath stopped struggling, surprise evident in its alien features. How can you perceive this? I can see the entropy in your cellular structure, Naruto replied. Your species evolved to absorb dimensional energy, but you've consumed too much, too fast. You're burning out from the inside. Irrelevant, Korath stated, though its voice wavered slightly. The council's directive stands. The power must be reclaimed. To save yourselves, Naruto concluded. You think absorbing Omni-King power would stabilize your deteriorating forms? Vados approached cautiously. If that's true, they're more desperate than dangerous. Attempting to integrate Omni-King energy into their unstable physiology would only accelerate their deterioration. They don't know that, Marcarita added. Or they're too desperate to care. The dimensional rift contracted to barely a foot in diameter, its edges sealing naturally under Naruto's influence. Korath looked at the closing escape route, then back at Naruto, calculation evident in its strange eyes. Your perception is impressive, vessel, it acknowledged. Perhaps the integration was more successful than our models predicted. I'm not a vessel, Naruto corrected firmly. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and this power is now part of me. But that doesn't mean I can't help you find another solution to your problem. Koratha's expression shifted to something approximating surprise. You would aid those who attacked you. If your people are dying, yeah, Naruto replied simply. That's what power should be used for, helping others, not just destroying enemies. For a moment, genuine confusion crossed Koratha's features. This response clearly fell outside its predicted scenarios. Before it could respond, however, the rift pulsed with renewed energy. A hand emerged from the opening, pale, delicate, with crimson nails that extended into deadly points. No, Kakashi breathed, recognizing that hand. Instantly. It can't be. Sasuke strengthened his hold on Korath. What have you done? Who else did you bring? This is not our doing, Korath replied, actual fear evident in its voice. The dimensional destabilization must have triggered dormant pathways. The hand pushed through the rift, followed by an arm adorned with familiar flowing sleeves. Reality shuddered as a face emerged, beautiful, alien, with Byakugan eyes and a third Rinne Sharingan on the forehead. Kagaya, Naruto whispered, cold dread washing over him. But how? We sealed her away completely. The dimensional disturbance must have weakened her prison, Vados theorized, raising her staff defensively. And she would naturally be drawn to the greatest concentration of power, you. Kagaya emerged fully from the rift, floating above them with the same imperial presence Naruto remembered. Her eyes fixed on him immediately, widening slightly as she perceived his transformed nature. My chakra, she said softly, voice echoing with otherworldly resonance. But changed. Evolved beyond even what I possessed. Her gaze sharpened. You've transcended, Naruto Uzumaki. Become something greater than even I envisioned. Back off, Kagaya, Naruto warned, cosmic energy gathering around him. You lost before, and I'm a lot stronger now. As am I, she replied with a cold smile. My imprisonment became meditation. Evolution through contemplation. She extended her hand toward him. And now you possess what I've sought for millennia, true divine ascension. Korath struggled against Sasuke's hold. Otsutsuki progenitor. The council predicted your re-emergence, but not now, not here. Kagaya's gaze flicked dismissively to the hybrid being. Tsumikami. Still scavenging the leftover power of greater beings, I see. Her attention returned to Naruto. Unlike these parasites, I don't need to steal your power. You'll give it to me willingly. That's not happening, Naruto stated flatly. It already begins, Kaguya replied enigmatically. With a gesture, she released a pulse of energy that spread across the landscape. Wherever the energy touched, reality transformed. The ground sprouted twisted versions of the god tree, the sky darkened with dimensional fractures, and the very air grew thick with chakra that responded to Kaguya's will. She's converting the environment, Sasuke warned, maintaining his hold on Korath while activating his Susanoo defensively. Like before, but more targeted. Not just the environment, Sakura gasped, noticing with horror that the pulse had affected Kakashi differently, his body briefly glowing with the same energy that surrounded Kaguya. Kakashi dropped to one knee, clutching his head. She's connecting to my memories of her, he ground out through clenched teeth. The Sharingan, even though it's gone, the imprint remains. She's using him as a conduit, Vados realized. Clever. She can't affect Lord Naruto directly due to his divine protection, so she's creating indirect pathways. Marcarita moved to Kakashi, her staff glowing as she placed a protective barrier around him. This will hold temporarily, but her influence is pervasive. Kaguya raised both hands, and the transformed landscape responded, twisted trees reaching toward Naruto like grasping fingers. All chakra is my chakra, she intoned. All power stems from my gift to this world. You merely hold what has always been mine. Naruto didn't bother with physical defenses. Instead, he altered the fundamental properties of the space around him, creating a zone where Kaguya's influence simply couldn't propagate. The reaching tendrils dissolved upon contact with this altered region. Nice try, he said, confidence growing as he applied his training. But chakra isn't your exclusive domain anymore. And this power never belonged to you in the first place. Kaguya's expression darkened. You've learned much, but you remain ignorant of deeper truths. She turned toward Korath. Your council sought me, didn't they? Before targeting this boy. Korath stopped struggling, calculating its options. The council recognized your potential as a stable vessel, yes. Your Otsutsuki physiology, already adapted to chakra manipulation, presented optimal compatibility. As I thought, Kaguya smiled coldly. They realized what you haven't, Naruto. That I am the only being in this realm naturally equipped to wield divine power safely. That's not why they approached you, Korath corrected, surprising everyone. They sought to use you as they attempted to use me, as a temporary vessel whose existence would end once the power was fully extracted. Kaguya's smile vanished. You lie. The Tsumikami do not possess emotions as you understand them, Korath replied evenly. Deception serves no purpose now. The council intended to harvest the power from whoever acquired it, whether Otsutsuki, human, or other. This revelation created a momentary impasse. Kaguya reassessed the situation, her calculating mind visible behind her impassive features. Naruto seized the opportunity. We have a common enemy, Kaguya. These dimensional hunters and their council threaten both of us. Help us close that rift permanently, and we can deal with each other after. Naruto, Sasuke warned. You can't trust her. I don't, Naruto replied. But right now, that rift is the bigger threat. More hunters could come through any minute. Kaguya studied him, then the fluctuating rift that still hung in the air despite Naruto's efforts to close it. Something was keeping it open, an external force pushing against the natural closure. Very well, she decided. A temporary alliance against these dimensional parasites. Without warning, she thrust her hand toward Korath, chakra rods erupting from her palm to impale the hybrid being. But instead of killing it, the rods began siphoning information directly from its mind. What are you doing? Naruto demanded. Acquiring tactical data, Kaguya replied calmly, eyes narrowing in concentration. The rift remains open because it's being maintained from the other side. The council anticipated resistance and prepared accordingly. Korith convulsed under her assault but didn't resist. Vessel compatibility, testing complete, it managed to say, looking directly at Naruto. Data, transmitted. They were scanning you, Vados realized. This entire confrontation was an assessment of your capabilities. And now they have what they needed, Marcarita added grimly. Your power signature, your techniques, your limitations. Kaguya withdrew her chakra rods from Korith, having extracted what information she could. The hybrid being slumped in Sasuke's hold, its form beginning to deteriorate. The council has deployed a dimensional anchor within their realm, Kaguya announced. A device keyed specifically to Omni-King energy. It's drawing on your power, Naruto, using it to maintain the rift. That should be impossible, Vados stated, alarmed. Omni-King energy cannot be manipulated by external forces. Unless they acquired a sample somehow, Kaguya countered. Perhaps during the original attack on Zeno. Naruto extended his perception toward the rift, seeing it with his enhanced senses. Sure enough, there was a connection, thin but definite, between the dimensional tear and his own energy signature. She's right, he confirmed. They're using my own power against me. Like a hook caught in my energy field. Then we need to cut the connection, Sakura suggested. Sever the link between you and whatever device they're using. Not that simple, Sasuke argued. Dimensional tethers work both ways. Severing it incorrectly could backfire, drawing more power from Naruto instead of less. There is a solution, Kaguya stated, her tone making it clear she expected something in return. I can redirect the tether. Make it draw from my chakra instead of his divine energy. Why would you do that? Kakashi questioned, still fighting her mental influence despite Marcarita's protection. Because unlike Naruto, I can corrupt the connection, Kaguya explained with cold satisfaction. Send something back through their device that they won't anticipate. Naruto exchanged glances with Vados and Marcarita. The angels' expressions revealed their concern but also recognition that options were limited. If we do this, Naruto said carefully to Kaguya, what do you want in return? After we defeat these Tsumikami and their council? Kaguya's lips curved in a slight smile. A portion of your divine power, freely given. Enough to restore what was taken from me during our last encounter. So you can try to conquer the world again? No deal. Not conquest, she corrected. Ascension. I've evolved beyond mere territorial ambition, Naruto Uzumaki. I seek understanding now. The power would be for knowledge, not dominion. She's lying, Sasuke stated flatly. Partially, Vados assessed, studying Kaguya carefully. But there is truth in her desire for understanding. The Otsutsuki inherently seek evolution. For her, power and knowledge are inseparable. Korith spoke again, its form increasingly unstable. The council approaches. Their primary extraction team, entering dimensional transit now. The rift pulsed ominously, expanding despite Naruto's efforts to contain it. We're out of time, Marcarita warned. Whatever we're doing, it needs to happen now. Naruto made his decision. Fine, Kaguya. Redirect the tether. Stop their incursion. But any power I give you afterward will have conditions, serious ones. Acceptable, Kaguya agreed immediately, her confidence suggesting she believed she could negotiate better terms later. She moved toward the rift, hands forming intricate patterns unlike any jutsu Naruto had seen before. I'll need to connect directly to your divine energy, she instructed. A temporary bridge between us. That's dangerous, Vados cautioned. She could attempt to take more than you offer. I'm aware, Naruto replied. But I'll control the connection. He looked to Sasuke. Keep Korith secured. We might need more information from it. Naruto approached Kaguya cautiously, extending a small filament of his divine energy toward her. She received it with surprising gentleness, weaving it into her complex technique. Now, she instructed, focus on the tether. Feel where it connects to your energy signature. When I give the signal, sever it completely while I establish the new connection. Naruto closed his eyes, concentrating on the parasitic link that drained minute amounts of his power to keep the rift open. It was subtle, he wouldn't have noticed without actively looking for it. Ready, he confirmed. Kagaya completed her technique, chakra flowing around her in intricate patterns. Now. Naruto cut the connection precisely as Kagaya established her replacement link. For a moment, the rift wavered uncertainly, then stabilized, now drawing from Kagaya's vast chakra reserves instead of Naruto's divine energy. It worked, Sakura observed, relief evident in her voice. Not finished yet, Kagaya corrected, concentration evident on her features. Now for the counterattack. She closed her eyes, and her third Rinna Sharingan opened fully, pulsing with power. Through the redirected tether, she sent not just chakra but a modified version, infused with the unique properties of her dimensional manipulation abilities. The rift suddenly flared, edges turning from blue to crimson. A shockwave emanated from it, powerful enough that everyone except Naruto and the angels needed to brace themselves. What did you do? Naruto demanded. Converted their anchor into a recursive loop, Kagaya explained, satisfaction evident in her voice. Their device is now feeding on itself, trapped in dimensional feedback. The rift began to shrink rapidly, its edges becoming unstable. It's going to collapse catastrophically, Vados warned. The backlash could devastate this entire region. As intended, Kagaya confirmed calmly. Their extraction team will be caught in the dimensional collapse. A fitting end to their arrogance. Naruto shook his head. No. I won't allow mass destruction, even of enemies. Before anyone could stop him, he thrust both hands toward the collapsing rift. Using techniques he developed during training, he established control over the collapse, guiding it rather than simply containing it. What are you doing? Kagaya demanded, feeling her connection to the tether weakening as Naruto's influence grew. Controlled demolition, Naruto replied through gritted teeth. Collapsing the rift inward instead of outward. Minimizing damage on both sides. The rift imploded, dimensions folding in on themselves in a precisely orchestrated sequence. The backlash energy dispersed harmlessly into the space between dimensions rather than erupting into the physical world. When it was done, not even a trace of the tear remained, just smooth, unbroken reality where the breach had been. Korath, still held by Sasuke, looked genuinely astonished. Impossible. Dimensional collapse without catastrophic energy release. Its deterioration accelerated, body becoming increasingly transparent. The council, miscalculated, your potential. Stay with us, Naruto urged, approaching the failing hybrid. Let me help you. Too late, for this vessel, Korath replied, voice fading. But your mercy, noted. Unexpected variable. Its form dissolved completely, leaving nothing behind but scattered particles that quickly dissipated. A heavy silence fell over the group, broken eventually by Kakashi. Is it over? He asked, finally free of Kagaya's influence as Marcarita removed her protective barrier. The immediate threat, yes, Vados confirmed. But the council now has vital data on Lord Naruto's abilities. They will adapt their approach for the next attempt. And there will be a next attempt, Marcarita added grimly. Kagaya turned to Naruto, expectation clear in her expression. I've fulfilled my part of our arrangement. Now for yours. Let's be clear about something first, Naruto replied firmly. Any power I share with you comes with binding restrictions. You will not harm anyone with it. You will not attempt to subjugate this world or any other. The moment you violate these terms, the power returns to me. Non-negotiable. Kagaya's eyes narrowed slightly. You've grown more commanding since our last encounter. After a moment's consideration, she nodded. I accept your terms. The power's potential for knowledge far outweighs its utility for conquest. Sasuke moved to Naruto's side. You can't seriously be considering this. She's manipulated and deceived from the beginning. I know exactly who and what she is, Naruto assured him. But I also keep my promises. He looked directly at Kaguya. Besides, I never specified how much power I'd share. Understanding dawned in the angel's eyes. Vados gave a subtle nod of approval. Naruto extended his hand toward Kaguya, divine energy gathering around his palm. A portion of power, as agreed. Use it for understanding, as you claimed, and maybe we'll revisit this arrangement someday. Kaguya reached out, eager despite her attempt to appear impassive. Their hands connected, and Naruto transferred a carefully measured amount of divine energy, enough to be meaningful but far from transformative. More importantly, the energy carried his imprint, his conditions woven into its very essence. This is, less than I anticipated, Kaguya observed, studying the divine energy as it integrated with her chakra. But its quality is remarkable. Unlike anything the Otsutsuki have encountered before. It's enough to study, to learn from, Naruto replied. Which is what you said you wanted. Kaguya absorbed the energy completely, her form briefly glowing with divine light before returning to normal. The restrictions are impressive, she acknowledged. Your control has evolved significantly. So what now? Sakura asked cautiously. You're just going to leave peacefully. For now, Kaguya confirmed, surprising them all. This new power requires contemplation, understanding. And these dimensional hunters present a threat to my interests as well. She looked directly at Naruto. We will meet again, when you've fully mastered your divine role. Perhaps then, we can discuss a more equitable arrangement. Without another word, she opened her own dimensional portal, not a jagged rift like the hunters had created, but a smooth oval of shifting reality. She stepped through, the portal closing silently behind her. Well, Marcarita said after a moment. That was unexpected. Did you just make a deal with the devil? Kakashi asked Naruto, his visible eye betraying his concern. More like I gave a tiger a taste of something it can't fully digest, Naruto replied thoughtfully. The power I shared is real, but limited. More importantly, it's bound to my will in ways she doesn't yet understand. A tracking beacon, Vados realized. You'll be able to monitor her activities through it. And recall the power if necessary, Naruto confirmed. Plus, she now has a vested interest in opposing the dimensional hunters. Better to have her as a reluctant ally than an active enemy, at least until the coronation is behind us. Sasuke deactivated his Rinnegan, clearly exhausted from maintaining his techniques during the confrontation. Speaking of which, this attack confirms the coronation is likely a trap. The timing is too convenient. Or the hunters accelerated their plans because they learned about the coronation, Sakura countered. Either way, we need to be prepared for anything. Indeed, Vados agreed. Today's battle revealed much about our opponent's capabilities, but also about Lord Naruto's progress. Your power control has advanced remarkably. The dimensional collapse management was particularly impressive, Marcarita added with genuine admiration. Most divine entities would have simply contained the explosion rather than redirecting its energy so precisely. Naruto looked at the spot where the rift had been, then at his friends and mentors. I had good teachers. And better motivation. He turned to Kakashi, concern evident. Are you okay? Kaguya's influence seemed to hit you pretty hard. I'll manage, Kakashi assured him, though he looked drained. Having her presence in my mind again was unsettling. But Marcarita's barrier protected me from the worst of it. We should return to the village, Sakura suggested. Report what happened and continue preparations for the coronation. There's still so much we don't know, Sasuke noted as they began the journey back. This dimensional council, their true motives, their connection to the Otsutsuki. And why they're so desperate to reclaim the Omni-King power specifically, Naruto added thoughtfully. Korith mentioned their species was dying. Maybe they see this power as their salvation. A perspective worth considering, Vados acknowledged. Though their methods remain unacceptable. Desperate beings rarely choose acceptable methods, Marcarita pointed out. They choose effective ones. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of intensive preparation. The encounter with the hunters and Kaguya had heightened everyone's awareness of the stakes involved in the upcoming coronation. Training intensified, with Naruto mastering increasingly complex aspects of his divine power. 7 days before the ceremony, Vados and Marcarita began preparing the mortal team for the journey to the divine realm. Sasuke, Sakura, Kakashi, and Shikamaru, who had insisted on coming to provide strategic analysis, underwent special conditioning to withstand the unique properties of that dimension. The divine realm exists partially outside conventional spacetime, Vados explained as she administered glowing elixirs to each of them. Mortal bodies would typically dissolve upon entry, their component atoms returning to base energy. That's reassuring, Shikamaru commented dryly, examining the shimmering liquid in his vial. These adaptations will temporarily align your physical existence with divine resonance, Marcarita added more helpfully. You'll maintain your forms and functions, though you may experience enhanced perception and awareness while there. Side effects? Sakura asked, always the medic. Nothing permanent, Vados assured her. Though some mortals report temporary synesthesia upon returning to normal space, seeing sounds, tasting colors, that sort of thing. A small price for witnessing a divine coronation, Kakashi noted. Few mortals have ever had such an opportunity. Few mortals have ever had a friend become Omni-King, Sasuke replied. We're well beyond normal circumstances. While his friends prepared, Naruto faced his own unique challenges, mastering the ceremonial aspects of his position. The coronation would involve specific protocols, declarations, and power demonstrations that had to be performed perfectly. The convergence manifestation is particularly important, Vados instructed as they practiced in a specially created training dimension. You must channel your divine energy through each of the 12 universal matrices simultaneously, establishing your authority over all realities. Naruto concentrated, extending filaments of power to 12 different focal points that represented the universes. Each connection required slightly different frequency and intent, like tuning individual instruments in a cosmic orchestra. Better, Vados approved as he successfully maintained all 12 connections. Though Universe 9's resonance is still slightly discordant. Because it's structurally different from the others, Naruto noted, adjusting his approach. More chaotic, less internally consistent. Vados raised an eyebrow, impressed by his perception. Precisely. Each universe has its own personality, for lack of a better term. Recognizing these differences is essential for balanced oversight. In another training session, Marcarita focused on diplomatic preparation. Holograms of various divine entities appeared before Naruto, each requiring specific forms of acknowledgement. The gods of destruction you've already met, she reminded him. But the supreme Kais require particular deference, their creators, not destroyers, and value recognition of their foundational role. And the other angels? Naruto asked, practicing the formal gestures of greeting for each type of entity. We acknowledge each other as equals in service, though with proper recognition of seniority, Marcarita explained. My siblings can be quite particular about protocol, especially Whis and Martinu. As the training progressed, Naruto noticed subtle changes in his relationship with both angels. Vados, initially formal and reserved, had developed a quiet pride in his accomplishments. Her guidance became less instructional and more collaborative, treating him increasingly as a partner rather than a student. Marcarita, always more expressive, had grown openly protective and supportive. Her playful nature remained, but underneath it was genuine concern for his well-being and success. 3 nights before the coronation, Naruto found himself unable to sleep despite exhaustion. The weight of what lay ahead, not just the ceremony, but the responsibility it formalized, pressed heavily on his mind. He wandered out to the garden section of his dimensional space, surprised to find both angels there, engaged in quiet conversation. "Sorry," he apologized, turning to leave. "Didn't mean to interrupt." "Not at all," Vados replied, gesturing for him to join them. "Your presence is welcome." "Can't sleep?" Marcarita asked, creating a floating cushion beside them with a casual wave of her staff. Naruto sat with a sigh. "Just thinking about everything. The coronation, what comes after, this dimensional council, it's a lot." "Understandable concerns," Vados acknowledged. "The responsibilities of Omni-King extend beyond anything mortals typically contemplate." "It's not the responsibility that bothers me," Naruto clarified. "It's knowing there are forces out there already moving against me, against what I represent. And I still don't fully understand why." The angels exchanged glances, some unspoken communication passing between them. Finally, Marcarita spoke. "We've been authorized to share certain information with you before the coronation," she said, her usual playfulness absent. Information the Grand Priest initially restricted. "About the Dimensional Council?" Naruto asked. "About Lord Zeno's final intentions," Vados corrected. "The true reason for the power transfer." Naruto straightened, fully alert now. "I'm listening." "The multiverse exists in cycles," Vados began, her voice taking on a storyteller's cadence. "Long periods of stability followed by brief, intense phases of renewal. The last such renewal occurred billions of years ago, establishing the 12 universes as they currently exist. These cycles aren't random," Marcarita continued. "They're necessary corrections to cosmic entropy. Without them, reality itself would eventually stagnate and collapse." "And we're due for another one," Naruto guessed. "Yes," Vados confirmed. Lord Zeno had grown, disconnected from his purpose. The detachment that allowed him to maintain impartiality had evolved into apathy. He no longer engaged with the fundamental needs of the multiverse. The Dimensional Council emerged in response to this neglect, Marcarita explained. Beings from the space between multiversal clusters, concerned that Zeno's disinterest would allow collapse to begin. "Wait," Naruto interrupted. "Are you saying these hunters have a legitimate concern? That the multiverse really is in danger?" "Their concern is legitimate," Vados acknowledged. "Their methods and proposed solution are not. The Council believes the only answer is to reset the entire system," Marcarita elaborated. "Erase everything and begin anew. A clean slate approach that would sacrifice all existing life across all universes." "That's insane," Naruto protested. "There has to be another way. And that," Vados said quietly, "is precisely why Lord Zeno chose you." Naruto fell silent, processing the implications. "His final act wasn't random desperation during an attack," Marcarita continued. "The hunter's assault merely provided the opportunity for a transfer he had already contemplated." "He chose you specifically, Naruto Uzumaki," Vados stated. "A being who faced annihilation multiple times yet always found another path. Someone who transformed enemies into allies, who understood both creation and destruction but favored the former." The Grand Priest confirmed this after analyzing the transfer, Marcarita added. "Zeno had been observing multiple dimensions, seeking a successor with the specific qualities needed for renewal without reset." "So the coronation," Naruto began, "is both recognition of legitimate succession and a challenge," Vados confirmed. "The divine hierarchy acknowledges Zeno's choice, but many remain skeptical that a former mortal can manage renewal without catastrophe. And the Dimensional Council opposes me because they don't believe renewal is possible without complete reset," Naruto concluded. "They want the power back to implement their original plan." "Exactly," Marcarita nodded. "Your continued existence represents a direct challenge to their vision of cosmic maintenance." Naruto stood, pacing the garden as he absorbed this revelation. "So no pressure, just figure out how to renew an entire multiverse without destroying it, while fighting off entities that want to reset everything to zero. When you put it that way. Marcarita offered a small smile. Why didn't you tell me this sooner? Naruto asked, turning back to them. We were forbidden, Vados explained simply. The Grand Priest believed you needed to develop your own approach without the weight of this knowledge influencing your natural tendencies. And now? Now you've demonstrated sufficient mastery and character to handle the full context, Marcarita replied. The coronation will formally invest you with renewal authority. What you do with it afterward is your choice, but it must be addressed eventually. Naruto ran a hand through his hair, the enormity of his position finally becoming clear. How long? Before this renewal becomes critical? On cosmic timescales? Perhaps a few thousand years, Vados estimated. In practical terms, signs of entropic acceleration will become noticeable within decades. Small pockets of reality have already begun to show symptoms, Marcarita added. Dimensional thinning, causality fluctuations, temporal recursion. Naruto thought back to his conversation with Sasuke weeks ago, his friend's suspicions that someone had orchestrated these events. The Grand Priest knew all along, he realized. He wasn't surprised by my succession because he understood Zeno's intentions. The Grand Priest sees further than any other being, Vados confirmed. His perspective spans eons past and future. Which brings us to the coronation itself, Marcarita transitioned. With this context, you now understand why it's more than mere ceremony. It's your formal introduction to the cosmic hierarchy as the architect of coming renewal. And why the Dimensional Council might see it as their last opportunity to intervene before I'm fully established, Naruto added grimly. They'll make their move at the ceremony. Almost certainly, Vados agreed. Though the Divine Realm's defenses are formidable. Not against an enemy already expecting those defenses, Naruto pointed out. They've been planning this for who knows how long. He fell quiet, contemplating all he'd learned. After several minutes, he looked up at the two angels who had become far more than mere instructors over these weeks. Thank you, he said sincerely. For telling me this, for everything you've taught me. Whatever happens at the coronation, I wouldn't have made it this far without you both. We have merely guided what was already within you, Vados replied, though her typically reserved expression softened slightly. Though it has been remarkably enjoyable, Marcarita added with a genuine smile. You're unlike any divine entity we've served before. Is that a good thing? Naruto asked, half joking. Better than you know, Marcarita assured him, her eyes conveying deeper meaning than her casual tone suggested. Vados nodded agreement. The coming days will be challenging, but you've earned something few beings ever achieve, our confidence. Coming from them, Naruto understood the significance of this statement. These ancient beings had observed countless civilizations rise and fall, had served divine masters for millions of years. Their confidence wasn't given lightly. Well, he said with determined optimism, guess I'd better not mess it up then. The day of the coronation arrived with ceremonial solemnity. Naruto's mortal team had completed their preparations, their bodies temporarily modified to withstand the divine realm. Vados and Marcarita appeared in formal attire, more elaborate versions of their usual clothing, with additional symbols of office adorning their staffs. The Grand Priest will open a direct gateway at precisely noon, Vados explained as they gathered in the central chamber of Naruto's dimensional space. We'll proceed immediately to the Hall of Cosmic Authority. Remember your training, Marcarita reminded everyone. Move naturally but touch nothing unless explicitly invited. Divine artifacts respond to intention as much as contact. Naruto wore specially created ceremonial robes, white with orange accents and subtle cosmic patterns that shifted continuously across the fabric. Unlike traditional Omni-King attire, these incorporated elements of both his shinobi heritage and his new position, symbolizing the bridge he represented between mortal and divine. How are you feeling? Sakura asked him quietly as they waited for the gateway to open. Like I'm about to take an exam I've only partially studied for, Naruto admitted with a nervous laugh. But ready, I think. As ready as I can be. We've faced worse odds, Sasuke reminded him. At least this time you've got legitimate power instead of just talk no jutsu. Hey, that technique has saved your ass more than once, Naruto shot back with a grin, grateful for the moment of normalcy amid the cosmic pressure. At precisely noon, reality shifted before them. Unlike the jagged rifts created by the hunters, this gateway manifested as a perfect circle of golden light, its edges crisp and stable. It's time, Vados announced. Lord Naruto will enter first, followed by his attendants, then his mortal companions. Naruto took a deep breath, centering himself. Let's do this. He stepped through the gateway and into another reality entirely. The divine realm defied conventional description, architecture that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, colors beyond the normal spectrum, physics that obeyed intention rather than fixed laws. The others followed, their expressions shifting from concentration to awe as they beheld the realm beyond mortal experience. Even Sasuke, typically unimpressed by most displays of power, couldn't mask his astonishment. This is... Shikamaru began, trailing off as words failed him. Beyond troublesome? Naruto suggested with a smile. Beyond everything, the strategist replied, his brilliant mind visibly struggling to categorize what he was perceiving. They stood on a vast crystalline platform that floated amid swirling cosmic energies. Before them stretched a pathway composed of light that led toward an immense structure, a palace of impossible geometry that seemed to exist in all places at once while maintaining perfect coherence. The Grand Priest awaited them at the pathway's beginning, hands clasped behind. His back as always. Behind him stood 11 other angels, each bearing staffs similar to Vados and Marcarita's. Lord Naruto, the Grand Priest greeted with a formal bow. Welcome to the Divine Realm. Your arrival marks a historic moment in cosmic chronology. Thank you for the welcome, Naruto replied, using the formal response Vados had taught him. I come seeking recognition of succession and authority bestowed by Lord Zeno's final decree. The divine hierarchy acknowledges your claim, the Grand Priest confirmed. The ceremony of confirmation awaits within the Hall of Cosmic Authority. As they proceeded along the pathway, Naruto noticed subtle defensive measures integrated into the divine realm structure, reality anchors, dimensional locks, temporal buffers. The security was impressive but, as he'd suspected, designed primarily to keep out conventional threats. They entered the vast hall, where representatives from across the multiverse had gathered. Gods of destruction and supreme kais from all 12 universes stood in their designated positions. Other entities Naruto didn't recognize, beings of pure energy, conceptual manifestations, primordial forces given form, occupied the higher galleries. Quite the crowd, Kakashi murmured, his experienced eye noting the political groupings and alliances evident in how the various beings positioned themselves. And not all friendly, Sasuke added under his breath, Rinnegan active as he scanned for threats. The ceremony began with formal introductions, the Grand Priest announcing each major divine category and their acknowledgement of the proceedings. Naruto stood at the center of the hall, projecting confidence despite his inner tension. The succession confirmation will now commence, the Grand Priest announced. Lord Naruto, approached the cosmic nexus. At the hall's center, a pillar of swirling energy materialized, the intersection point of all 12 universes, where reality itself was at its most malleable. This was the moment they had practiced extensively, the convergence manifestation that would formally establish Naruto's authority over all universes. As Naruto stepped toward the nexus, Vados and Marcarita took positions at precisely calculated points around it, their staffs planted firmly to help stabilize the immense energies that would soon flow. The Grand Priest raised his hand, and silence fell across the hall. Present your claim to universal authority. Naruto closed his eyes, drawing on his divine power. Following the techniques he'd mastered, he extended his awareness simultaneously into all 12 universes, establishing connections to their fundamental matrices. The cosmic nexus responded, 12 distinct streams of energy emerging from it to connect with Naruto's outstretched hands. Each stream represented a universe, with its unique properties and resonance. The universes acknowledge your touch, the Grand Priest confirmed. Now, demonstrate your harmonization. This was the most challenging part, bringing all 12 universal energies into perfect balance while maintaining their distinct identities. Naruto carefully modulated each connection, using his chakra network as a filtering system to manage the overwhelming input. The streams began to pulse in synchronized rhythm, their colors shifting toward harmony without losing their uniqueness. Around the hall, representatives from each universe could feel the gentle touch of the new Omni-King, present but not imposing, powerful but not overwhelming. Excellent control, the Grand Priest acknowledged, genuine approval in his voice. The final confirmation requires your declaration of intent. What purpose will guide your authority, Lord Naruto? This was the moment of truth, the formal statement of how he would approach his role as Omni-King. Naruto had prepared extensively for this declaration, understanding its cosmic significance. As he opened his mouth to speak, however, a discordant pulse rippled through the cosmic nexus. The universal streams wavered, their harmonization briefly disrupted. Something's wrong, Marcarita warned, her staff glowing as she attempted to stabilize the energies. Dimensional incursion detected, one of the other angels announced, their staff scanning the surrounding reality. Multiple breaches forming around the divine realm's perimeter. The Grand Priest's expression remained calm, but his eyes sharpened. Proceed with the declaration, Lord Naruto. The defenses will hold. Naruto wasn't so certain. He could feel the incursion, not random attacks, but precisely targeted strikes against the divine realm's weakest points. Whoever was attacking had intimate knowledge of its defenses. I need to address this first, he decided, breaking protocol. The declaration means nothing if the ceremony is disrupted. Without waiting for permission, Naruto redirected the universal energies flowing through him, using them to enhance his perception beyond the hall. What he saw confirmed his fears, dimensional hunters, hundreds of them, coordinating a sophisticated assault on the divine realm's boundaries. Behind them, directing the attack, was a being unlike the others, massive, with a form that shifted continuously between different physical states. The Dimensional Council's true representative, finally revealing itself. They're targeting the universal anchors, Naruto reported, maintaining his connection to the Nexus while extending his awareness outward. Trying to destabilize the divine realm's connection to all 12 universes simultaneously. The Grand Priest nodded once, decision made. Angels to defensive positions. Gods of destruction and Kais, maintain universal stability from your respective domains. As divine entities began moving with practiced efficiency, Naruto turned to his friends. Sasuke, Kakashi, Sakura, Shikamaru, stay with Vados and Marcarita. The divine realm is about to become a battlefield. We're not sitting this out, Sasuke replied firmly. That's not why we came. Your mortal companions cannot contribute meaningfully to this defense, the Grand Priest stated, though not unkindly. The scale exceeds their capabilities. With respect, Shikamaru interjected, that's exactly what gives us an advantage. The attackers are expecting divine countermeasures, not shinobi techniques. The Grand Priest considered this briefly, then inclined his head. An unexpected variable may indeed prove valuable. Very well. Naruto turned back to the cosmic nexus, making a split-second decision. Instead of releasing the universal connections, he maintained them, drawing on their combined power. I'm going to confront their leader directly, he announced. The hunters are just the vanguard, that entity directing them is the real threat. Extremely risky, the Grand Priest cautioned. Your mastery, while impressive, remains incomplete. Which is exactly why I need to act now, Naruto countered. Before they disrupt the Nexus completely. If I lose this connection to all 12 universes, we lose our biggest advantage. Vados stepped forward. I will accompany Lord Naruto. As will I, Marcarita added without hesitation. The Grand Priest studied them both, something unreadable passing across his ancient features. You understand the implications of this choice. Direct intervention against the Council violates angelic neutrality protocols. We are attendants to the Omni-King, Vados replied formally. His defense is our primary directive. Even against cosmic-level threats, the Grand Priest pressed. Especially against such threats, Marcarita confirmed, her usual playfulness replaced by resolute determination. The Grand Priest regarded them for a moment longer, then nodded once. So be it. The divine hierarchy acknowledges your right of accompaniment. He turned to Naruto. Proceed with caution, Lord Naruto. The being you face exists partially outside our dimensional laws. Naruto nodded, then looked to his friends. Protect the ceremony. Don't let them disrupt the nexus. We've got this, Sakura assured him, already gathering her chakra. Go end this. With the universal energy still flowing through him, Naruto created a dimensional corridor, a direct path from the ceremonial hall to the primary incursion point. Vados and Marcarita moved to his side, their staffs ready. Stay connected to me, Naruto instructed them. I'll maintain a protective field, but things might get chaotic out there. Together, they entered the corridor, reality blurring around them as they traversed the distance instantaneously. They emerged at the Divine Realm's boundary, where the attack was most concentrated. The scene before them was one of cosmic warfare, hunters deploying dimensional destabilizers against the realm's defenses, angels countering with precisely targeted energy strikes, reality itself buckling under the conflict. At the center of the assault floated the massive entity, a being composed of constantly shifting matter, with multiple faces that formed and dissolved across its surface. It directed the hunters with pulses of dimensional energy that cut through the divine realm's outer barriers. The Prime Architect, Vados identified, her voice tight with tension. The Council's executive force. Never thought I'd see one manifest directly, Marcarita added, raising her staff defensively. They typically operate through proxies. The Prime Architect noticed their arrival immediately, its attention shifting from the general assault to focus specifically on Naruto. All its faces aligned to stare at him with eyes that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Anomaly detected, it announced, its voice resonating on frequencies that distorted nearby reality. Unauthorized Omni-Sequence bearer. Containment protocols initiated. I am Naruto Uzumaki, Naruto replied, allowing the universal energies to flow visibly around him. Chosen successor of Zeno and rightful Omni-King. Stand down your forces and withdraw from this realm. Succession invalid, the entity countered. Renewal sequence corrupted. Reset required. The Prime Architect extended appendages that weren't quite arms, more like conceptual projections of force, directly toward Naruto. From these extensions erupted beams of anti-reality, designed to erase anything they touched from existence itself. Naruto didn't attempt to dodge. Instead, drawing on techniques he developed specifically for this confrontation, he created a reality filter, a barrier that separated the destructive components of the attack from its energy, neutralizing the former while absorbing the latter. Impressive adaptation, Vados noted, creating her own defenses as hunters broke through to their position. I've been preparing for this, Naruto replied. Maintaining concentration on the Prime Architect while expanding his awareness to the surrounding battle. They want reset. Let's show them renewal instead. He thrust both hands forward, channeling the universal energies in a display of coordinated power that made even the angels pause. Each universal stream manifested differently, some as elemental forces, others as conceptual constructs, all precisely directed. The combined attack struck the Prime Architect's form, not attempting to destroy it but instead forcing it to stabilize into a single configuration. The entity's constant shifting was its primary defense, by compelling it to maintain one form, Naruto rendered it vulnerable. Unprecedented approach, the being acknowledged, its voice losing some of its dimensional distortion. Adaptation noted but insufficient. It countered with a dimensional compression wave, a technique that attempted to fold space around Naruto, trapping him in a pocket of condensed reality where his powers would be constrained. Marcarita intervened, her staff spinning to create a temporal buffer that disrupted the compression sequence. "Not today, cosmic bully," she quipped, though her expression remained intensely focused. Vados simultaneously engaged multiple hunters that attempted to flank them, her movements precise and devastatingly effective. Each strike of her staff didn't merely defeat an opponent, it temporarily rewrote their dimensional frequency, rendering them unable to maintain cohesion in the divine realm. "The Prime Architect cannot be defeated conventionally," she called to Naruto between movements. "Its existence spans multiple reality clusters." "I don't need to defeat it," Naruto replied, an idea forming as he maintained pressure on the entity. "Just convince it." He reached deeper into the universal connections flowing through him, drawing on a specific aspect he discovered during training, the underlying pattern that connected all 12 universes at their most fundamental level. Not their energy, but their purpose, the reason for their existence within the larger cosmic design. This pattern manifested as golden light that surrounded Naruto, different from raw power. It was purpose-given form, cosmic intent made visible. "You believe the multiverse needs reset because entropy has advanced too far," Naruto addressed the Prime Architect directly. "But you're wrong. It doesn't need destruction, it needs transformation. Entropy cannot be reversed," the entity stated, though its attacks paused momentarily. "Cosmic law established. Reset inevitable." "Not reversal," Naruto corrected. "Evolution." With that word, he released the golden pattern, not as an attack but as a demonstration. It expanded outward, temporarily rendering visible the connections between all things, the potential pathways for energy to flow in new configurations without losing their essential nature. The Prime Architect's many faces registered something approximating surprise. Unauthorized pattern recognition. Zeno Prime sequence detected. "This is what Zeno saw," Naruto explained, maintaining the pattern's visibility with considerable effort. "Why he chose a successor instead of implementing reset. The potential for renewal without destruction." For a moment, the cosmic battlefield seemed to pause, all entities, hunters, angels, even the Prime Architect itself, observing the pattern that Naruto had revealed. It showed a way forward that none had considered, not preservation of the failing system, not its destruction, but its transformation into something new yet recognizably evolved from the old. Insufficient data for confirmation, the Prime Architect finally responded, though with noticeable hesitation. "Theoretical model requires validation." "Then let me provide it," Naruto replied, seizing the opportunity. Drawing on everything he'd learned, everything he was, Naruto Uzumaki and Omni-King both, he channeled the universal energies into the pattern, not just displaying it but activating a small portion of its potential. The effect was immediate and visible to all present. A wave of renewal energy pulsed outward from their position, touching each hunter, each angel, the Prime Architect itself, and the very fabric of the divine realm. Where it passed, entropic decay visibly reversed, not rewinding time but restructuring energy pathways to eliminate accumulated disorder. "A demonstration only," Naruto clarified, maintaining precise control. "A fraction of what's possible across the entire multiverse, implemented gradually, naturally, without disruption of existing life." The Prime Architect's form stabilized further, its shifting becoming rhythmic rather than chaotic as it processed what it had witnessed. "Unexpected variable," it acknowledged. "Zeno Prime sequence viable under specific parameters." "Call off your attack," Naruto urged, sensing an opening. "Let the coronation complete. I'll prove the pattern works across all 12 universes, and you'll have your validation without risking universal reset." The entity was silent for what felt like eternity but was likely only seconds. Finally, its many faces aligned in a configuration that suggested consensus. Conditional cessation accepted. Demonstration results compelling. Further observation required. With that pronouncement, the Prime Architect pulsed once, and all hunters immediately disengaged from combat. They retreated to their leader's position, their forms becoming increasingly transparent as they prepared to withdraw. Omni-King Naruto Uzumaki, the Prime Architect stated formally, using his name for the first time. The Dimensional Council acknowledges your approach. You will be monitored. Failure will result in council intervention. Fair enough, Naruto replied, maintaining the renewal energy around them as evidence of his capabilities. But no more sneak attacks. If you have concerns, come to me directly. Agreed. Direct communication protocols established. With that final statement, the Prime Architect and its hunter forces phased out of the Divine Realm, returning to whatever dimensional space they normally occupied. The sudden absence of their disruptive energy left an almost tangible silence. Marcarita lowered her staff, eyes wide with astonishment. You just negotiated with the Dimensional Council. No one does that. And they accepted, Vados added, equal parts impressed and concerned. Though their monitoring will be invasive. Better than fighting a war across the multiverse, Naruto replied, carefully releasing the universal energies he'd been channeling. The golden pattern faded, though its impression remained visible to those with divine perception. We should return to the ceremony, Vados suggested, already creating a path back to the Hall of Cosmic Authority. The coronation must be completed to formalize your position. They traversed the dimensional corridor back to find the hall in remarkable order, considering what had just occurred. The Grand Priest stood exactly where they had left him, as if no time had passed, though his eyes reflected awareness of everything that had transpired. Naruto's friends had positioned themselves around the cosmic nexus, which continued to pulse steadily. Sasuke's Susanoo had merged with Kakashi's Kamui dimension in a hybrid technique that created a selective reality filter around the nexus. Shikamaru's shadow techniques, enhanced by the Divine Realm's unique properties, had transformed into conceptual bindings that stabilized the universal connections. Sakura maintained the physical integrity of the space itself, her medical chakra adapted to heal reality breaches. The council has withdrawn, Naruto announced as they rejoined the assembly. At least temporarily. So we observed, the Grand Priest replied. His gaze lingered on Vados and Marcarita. Your attendants performed their duties admirably, despite the implications. Something in his tone made Naruto look more closely at the angels. Both appeared composed, but he could sense an underlying tension in them. What implications? He asked directly. Direct opposition to the Dimensional Council represents a significant deviation from established angelic protocols, the Grand Priest explained. Under normal circumstances, such actions would result in temporary suspension of duties. That's ridiculous, Naruto protested. They were protecting me, protecting this ceremony, exactly what they're supposed to do. Indeed, the Grand Priest agreed, surprising him. Which is why no suspension will be implemented. Their actions, while unprecedented, were in perfect alignment with their primary directive as attendants to the Omni-King. Relief washed over both angels' features, though they maintained their formal composure. The ceremony will now continue, the Grand Priest announced to the assembled entities. The declaration of intent remains to be completed. Naruto stepped back to the center of the cosmic nexus, reconnecting with the 12 universal streams. This time, they flowed more smoothly, as if his earlier demonstration had somehow optimized their alignment. My declaration is simple, he began, his voice carrying to all corners of the hall. I accept the position of Omni-King not as ruler but as guardian. Not as judge but as guide. My intent is renewal through transformation, not reset through destruction. The universal energies pulsed in response, brightening as they synchronized with his stated purpose. The multiverse faces entropy, but we will meet that challenge together, not by erasing what exists, but by evolving it into what can be. All life, all creation has value. Our path forward honors that fundamental truth. As he spoke, the nexus began to transform, responding to his declaration. The swirling energies coalesced into a new configuration, a complex, multidimensional structure that visibly represented the renewal pattern he had shown the Prime Architect. This is my promise as Omni-King, to protect, to preserve through change, to guide the cosmic renewal with wisdom and compassion. I ask not for submission but for partnership in this great work that lies ahead. The Grand Priest raised his staff, touching it to the transformed nexus. The declaration is accepted. The multiverse acknowledges Naruto Uzumaki as Omni-King, with all authorities and responsibilities therein. Light erupted from the nexus, washing over everyone present. Unlike raw power, this light carried meaning, a direct communication from the fundamental fabric of existence itself, acknowledging the new Omni-King and his stated intent. When the light faded, Naruto stood transformed. His ceremonial robes had evolved, now incorporating elements of the renewal pattern throughout their design. More significantly, a subtle mark had appeared on his forehead, not unlike the one Kaguya bore, but golden. Rather than red, and in the pattern of interconnected spirals that symbolized his approach to cosmic authority. The coronation is complete, the Grand Priest announced. Let all realms acknowledge the ascension of Omni-King Naruto. Throughout the 12 universes, divine beings sense the change, a shift in the cosmic hierarchy, the establishment of new authority. Unlike previous transitions, this one carried a distinctive character, dynamic rather than static, collaborative rather than dictatorial. As the formal ceremony concluded, the various representatives approached to offer acknowledgement. Gods of destruction bowed with varying degrees of sincerity, Supreme Kais offered blessings, other cosmic entities presented symbolic gifts representing their domains. Through it all, Naruto maintained his center, accepting each acknowledgement with genuine humility while projecting the quiet confidence his position required. When the formal proceedings ended, his friends gathered around him, their expressions a mix of awe and pride. So, Sakura said with a smile, Hokage wasn't ambitious enough for you, huh? Trust me, this wasn't the career path I had in mind, Naruto laughed, feeling some of the tension finally release. But I think we made it work. The shadow binding technique was particularly effective, Shikamaru noted. Something about this realm amplifies conceptual jutsu exponentially. Indeed, the Grand Priest commented, approaching their group. Mortal techniques adapted to divine contexts often yield unexpected results. Your contributions today will be recorded in the cosmic archives. High praise, Kakashi observed dryly. Though I suspect we're all ready to return to more familiar dimensions. About that, Naruto began, looking to the Grand Priest. Now that the coronation is complete, we need to discuss practical arrangements. I won't be abandoning my home world or my people. As expected, the Grand Priest replied with a slight nod. Lord Zeno selected you precisely because of your connections, not despite them. I'd like to establish a permanent dimensional nexus, Naruto proposed. A space that connects the divine realm to Earth, allowing me to fulfill both roles effectively. An unprecedented arrangement, the Grand Priest noted, but within your authority as Omni-King. The logistics will require careful consideration. I've been working on designs, Naruto admitted. During his training, he'd spent considerable time developing concepts for just such a connection, a dimension that would serve as both home and cosmic headquarters. Vados stepped forward. If I may, the dimensional space Lord Naruto has already created could serve as foundation. Its integration of mortal and divine elements provides an ideal starting point. With appropriate expansions and protections, Marcarita added supportively. The Grand Priest considered briefly, then nodded. Proceed with the implementation. As attendants to the Omni-King, you are authorized to assist in establishing his divine residence, regardless of its unconventional nature. After further discussions regarding protocols and responsibilities, arrangements were made for their return to Earth. Before they departed, however, the Grand Priest requested a private word with Naruto. Your handling of the Dimensional Council was unprecedented, he stated once they were alone. No previous Omni-King has negotiated with them directly. It seemed better than fighting, Naruto replied honestly. Indeed. And the pattern you revealed, the renewal approach you demonstrated, it confirms what I suspected when Lord Zeno selected you. The Grand Priest's ancient eyes studied him with new interest. You see connections where others see only separation. That's just how I've always been, Naruto shrugged. Everything and everyone is connected. Sometimes they just need help seeing it. A perspective uniquely suited to the challenges ahead, the Grand Priest acknowledged. Though the Council will be watching closely for any sign of failure. Let them watch, Naruto replied confidently. The pattern works. I can feel it. Yes, the Grand Priest agreed with a slight smile. I believe you can. The return to Earth marked the beginning of a new phase. With his position formalized, Naruto could now fully implement his vision for balancing his dual responsibilities. The dimensional space he'd created expanded dramatically, evolving into what would become known as the Nexus Dimension, a realm that existed simultaneously connected to Earth, the Divine Realm, and all 12 universes. Within this space, different areas served different functions. Some maintained Earth's natural physics and appearance, allowing his friends to visit comfortably. Others incorporated divine properties for cosmic administration. At its center stood a grand tree, reminiscent of both the God Tree and the Tree of Worlds from his pocket dimension, its branches extending into different realities, its roots providing stability across dimensional boundaries. 2 weeks after the coronation, as the Nexus Dimension neared completion, Naruto found himself on a balcony overlooking the impossible landscape they had created. Behind him, Vados and Marcarita approached, no longer in their formal attire but in more casual versions of their angelic clothing. The universal monitors are fully functional, Vados reported. You'll be notified of any significant disruptions requiring intervention. And the dimensional buffers are operating at optimal capacity, Marcarita added. The Council could observe but not interfere without significant effort. Thank you both, Naruto replied, turning to face them. For everything. Not just the technical stuff, but all of it. I wouldn't have survived this transition without you. The angels exchanged glances, some unspoken communication passing between them. There is a matter we should discuss, Vados began, her typically reserved manner showing hints of uncertainty. Regarding our continued service. You're not leaving, are you? Naruto asked, surprised by how much the possibility disturbed him. Quite the opposite, Marcarita clarified. Traditional protocol would have us return to our respective gods of destruction now that your position is established. However, we have requested permanent reassignment, Vados finished. As primary attendants to the Omni-King. The Grand Priest has approved the arrangement, Marcarita continued. Considering the unique circumstances and the ongoing renewal project. Relief washed over Naruto, followed by something deeper, gratitude tinged with genuine affection. Over these intense weeks, both angels had become far more than advisors or teachers. They had become, what, exactly? Friends seemed insufficient. Partners closer to the truth. I'm glad, he said simply. I was worried about having to break in new attendants who didn't understand my weird techniques. Your methods are unorthodox but effective, Vados acknowledged with a small smile. It would be inefficient to transfer that knowledge to new attendants. Purely practical considerations, of course, Marcarita added with a playful wink that suggested otherwise. Naruto laughed, seeing through their formal justifications. Of course. Nothing to do with enjoying my company or anything. Angels are not supposed to form personal attachments, Vados noted, though her tone lacked conviction. Particularly to those we serve. Yet another protocol we've adapted, Marcarita observed lightly. Along with direct confrontation of the Dimensional Council and establishment of an interdimensional residence. We're breaking all kinds of rules, aren't we? Naruto grinned. Good thing I'm Omni-King now. Can't get in too much trouble. On the contrary, Vados corrected him, though with a warmth that belied her formal words. Your position simply means the consequences of missteps would be proportionally greater. Then I'll have to rely on my excellent advisors to keep me from making too many mistakes, he replied, his gaze conveying deeper appreciation than his casual words. They stood together. In comfortable silence, overlooking the Nexus Dimension, their creation, their shared home. Beyond its boundaries, the multiverse continued its eternal dance, now guided by a new hand with a different touch. Challenges remained. The renewal project had only something went wrong with this response, please try again. Develop the next chapter of the story. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.